Really like where half of their buildings have like one skin and then the other half have a different skin, like building skin. Am I the only one seeing that? That's weird. Anyways, the drop does go in. A good blink on top, but that's not enough units to take down this many Marines, so several Stalkers will die. A lot of probes going down for Dark Menace as well. So this drop has actually gone pretty decently, I want to say, for Ghost Chant, considering there were this many Phoenix out on the map. And now a lot of the army was forced back there. Ghost Chant needs to burrow these mines in the near future. That is a lot of splash damage, though. Well, with that amount of Void Rays, could maybe burn down the Colossi if he so desires. Big Widowmine shots, I think actually partially hitting the Void Rays there, as the Void Rays target fire was not good at all. They were shooting sentries for a good amount of that fight, which is about the least effective unit they could have been shooting. Sentry's not an armored unit, so the Void Rays doing very little damage, and looks like Neutrophil and Dark Menace will be able to just kind of roll through the Purifiers here. A little unfortunate there. I think the target fire on the Void Rays just not quite good enough, and I think maybe pulling the trigger a little bit too early there. Not enough Void Rays to really overwhelm, and the Mines was a decent choice early on into the game, but they really didn't have a continuation to be able to deal with the Colossi later on. And now we're seeing GG Izzy pushing through the bases of the Purifiers, and there's just not a big enough army to withstand, as Neutrophil now maxed out on Carrier, Blink Stalker, Sentry, Phoenix. Say that 3 times fast, I dare you. Yeah, I think they'll be able to push up here. No storm, but no storm needed, it looks like. As we see, the Void Rays do get targeted a little bit there, but it's not enough at this point. Not enough units, and they push up into the natural base of the Purifiers. GG is called. And we're looking at game number 2.
Welcome, everyone. This is FSL Playoffs. I'm going to be joined here. Let me bring in KJ. Welcome, everyone. This is FSL Season 5. We're now in the playoffs. Joined here. Let's bring in KJ Freedom. So we can chat for a bit here. Waiting for Sir Maligan to join us. But, KJ, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Let's bring in ET too. ET is here. He'll be casting with us, as usual.
Joining here, see ET. Is it just me, or am I echoing just on my side?
I do not hear you echoing.
Okay,
yeah, it seems okay.
So it is on my side. Good evening, gentlemen. We've had a very interesting playoffs so far, but it's just going to keep getting interesting from here on out. What do you think about the game so far, ET?
They've been very exciting, and I'm very curious to see how the Code A shapes out, and also to see the following match after that.
Yeah, so we're gonna have Code A tonight. Let's actually take a look at our bracket here. Switch screens so you guys can see. Let's zoom in here. Quick summary. We saw Champone take it all the way in Code B, upsetting his first seed Fenrir. Actually, it's been the only upset we've had so far in the playoffs. But he went ahead and wrapped up Code B, went against Cyan. But that's a tough order since that's a Code A bracket. But what do you think about Champone's run there, ET?
It was very good. Obviously, able to overcome the mental battle, I think, of playing against his brother there, and it kept his cool a lot better in their finals series as opposed to in the group stage. So good improvement there. Fenrir still looked pretty good as well, and obviously Kitty Cat Gamer came very close to kind of turning it around. But Chianpone, a great run by him. Look forward to see what he manages to pull off next season.
Yeah, definitely a good run. I mean, if we remember the regular season between Fenrir and Champone, that was a very emotional game for both of them, more especially for Champone because he thought he had it won, but the edge case scenarios allowed Fenrir to actually just hold on and win, get that draw, and then finish it out. But I'm glad to see him come back, right, with the right mindset, mentality wise, and win in the playoffs. And in the Code A, we have Cyan winning that game going against Criminal. Um, Cyan came close. He had some opportunities, but in the end, Criminal was just too solid there. And then also we had The Archaic beating Little Reaper. Little Reaper, a very strong Protoss. But now The Archaic is the youngest player remaining on the bracket here. The Archaic still a bit older than Little Reaper, but he performed well there. Now he's going to go up against Criminal tonight. We're going to see that later in match number 2. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the young blood versus the old guard, right? Obviously, Criminal, about as old guard as it gets in StarCraft 2, was a very strong player in Wings of Liberty, and has not played as much since then. So it's it's the old versus the new, with the Archaic obviously pretty young, up and coming, getting stronger each season. So it's going to be an intense match, I think, and I'll be happy to see whoever comes out. I think it'll be a good match nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm actually very interested and looking forward to this game. The winner of that wins the Code A and qualifies to go to a play-in, who's going to be playing the lowest ranked Code S, which is Freedom, playing Terran. And that's going to be very interesting as well. Now, unfortunately for the winner of Code A, there's a very short turnaround. They're going to play that game immediately afterwards. There's no preparing. There's no scouting. You're just going to have to go with what you have and what you know. So it's going to be interesting. And winner of that will then face number 1 seed Instability. But we're going to be kicking it off tonight with 2v2. This is going to be the final match of 2v2 for the season. And it's been the number 1 and number 2 seeds all throughout the season. So it's a little surprise. We thought Turtles and Hair and Purifiers, if they didn't upset, wouldn't be a big surprise. But we kind of knew Kodayo and GG Izzy were the number 1 and 2 seeds. So what do you think about this matchup, ET?
It's going to be really hard to call. Kadeo's obviously a very strong team, but it seemed like GG Izzy had a pretty good handle on them in the group stages. As I remember, it was a pretty solid victory for GG Izzy there. There were some opportunities, but they looked rather dominant overall. But I think Kadeo's shaped it up a little bit since then, so we're easily in a position to come around for the turnaround here in the finals, and we'll see if they manage to do so.
That's right. And before we actually get started, let's thank our Patreons. As you guys see there, we've got Cyan, Hyper Turtle, Stu Blue as our VIP Patreons, and Rogue Ranch, who's been there all season. But we have a new one there. It's Thomas Steinmetz.
Yeah, it's PCH from last broadcast on Wednesday. Joined us for Patreon support. So thanks to it's
Thanks
PCH
again, Thomas, for the All Access Patreon. This allows us to up our price pool and all of that. It doesn't go to me. I don't get paid for this. ET doesn't get a cut. Neither does Sir Freedom might KJ Freedom here might win some prize pool here, but he's probably gonna give it back to the pool anyway. But the most important is the players will get all of that money distributed amongst those who made playoffs. So thanks again to our supporters. And let's actually jump right into it. 2v2. Let's bring up the map. They're actually doing their vetoes as we speak. And while we do that, let's bring in our players as well. So we can do a quick interview. I'm holding my breath here. Hopefully they'll say more than they usually do here. But we've got Dark Menace, who never says anything. Neutrophil might give you a soundbite here and there, but let's see what Kodaya does. So let's bring him in here. All right, this is going to be a crowded room. Joining us now, we have Team GG Izzy and Team Kodaya. Whoa, first pick is actually Arctic, but we'll talk about that more. Gentlemen, let's actually bring in their cams as well. Let's bring in Dark Menace, Neutrophil, The Archaic, and Regret. Let's actually zoom in so we can see their beautiful faces here. Gentlemen, how are you doing? I don't know which one to start with, but let's start with the number 2 seed here, Kodaya. Regret. Tell me something. What's the plan tonight, and how you guys think you're gonna do?
Oh man. Honestly, we did practice well more than usually, but I wish we had practiced more because this team is it actually. If we beat this team, then we're at the top of 2v2, and it's kind of a momentous occasion. And I'm also gonna try to do a lot more work than I usually do because the Archaic, my partner in crime, has actually like potentially 2, potentially 3 more games to play tonight. So I want to make it as easy as possible for him.
All right. So what about you, sorry, The Archaic? I know you guys haven't practiced as much as you'd like, but what do you think of your chances tonight?
The GG is definitely a really tough team to beat, and we'll just see what we can do.
All right. Is it just me or The Archaic really soft there?
A little bit, yeah.
All right. Can you say that again? I'm gonna turn you up.
GG Izzy is definitely a formidable team, and we might we'll try the best that we can.
Do the best that you can. ET, what do you think? Ask anything from Korea here?
Oh yeah, so I guess obviously last time y'all faced, they seemed to kind of just have a pretty good handle on the aggressive plays that y'all went for, and then even when you tried to macro, they kind of hit you with some aggressive plays. Did you analyze your previous series with them to try and find edges and like ways you could play a little bit cleaner, a little bit better against what they brought?
Regret, Korea?
Sorry, could you repeat that again? My headphones weren't on.
Yeah,
sorry.
Basically, just were you able as well? We talked a little bit about the practice. Were you able to kind of analyze your previous match against them to see what went wrong and hopefully perform a little bit better against their strategies?
I think the most I can say about that is win instead of lose. I think just don't let them win. Therefore, we can't lose. If it's
Okay.
logic. I think
Yeah.
at that point, it's a math
Yeah,
equation.
that makes sense to me. All right, perfect.
All right, now let's go to Team GG Izzy. You guys are the strongest team here. You got 2 Codes players, the 2nd and 3rd seed this season.
Steph, let's show them. Let's show their videos so we can see their expressions. We can't
yeah.
see.
There you go. Forgot to push it over, but so Team GG Izzy, is there any pressure of you guys to win tonight? Because you guys are the favored. What do you think?
It could go either way, I think, because I know both teams have been practicing a lot. Dark Menace and I, we have a game plan. We've been practicing on our alt accounts. And I'm sure Archaic and Regret have their own alt accounts to practice on. So it can really go either way. It's just really down to who coordinates better as a team, I think.
Gotcha. Dark Menace, Cyan from the chat mentioned this is a big bragging rights game. You know, we're going to be sitting in front of each other on the Thanksgiving table. We're actually at OBX. Does this mean a lot to you to be able to brag in front of them all throughout the year?
100%. Actually, I would even go so far as to say 120%. You know?
Yeah, but I'm asking Dark Menace here. I'm trying to get something from Dark Menace.
Oh, okay. My
What do you think?
Oh,
Nothing?
Yes,
Are you
no.
looking
I think that's
forward
what he
for
said.
a victory, or there's no pressure? You're gonna rub the wounds with the salt all throughout the summer? What's your plan here?
I don't really care.
You don't really care. All right, that's as much as we can get. Any final questions, ET, before we get started?
I know better than to ask them questions. Let's just get into the match.
Yeah,
Good
let's do that. So good luck, have fun, gentlemen. You guys go ahead and go to your respective channels. KJ Freedom, you are observing this, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. All right. We're gonna take our videos off so we can just focus on the players themselves.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about those with, obviously we are starting off on Arctic Dream, and I believe I saw Heavy Artillery and I do not remember, probably if I had to guess, Fields of Death. Yeah. Fields of Death, probably the most hated map in any of the map pools currently available for all the way up through 4v4s. I've never had anyone be like anything but complaints about that. But anyways, it's going to be Arctic Dream and then Emerald City, Reclamation, Riscallion, and Nightscape. So we do have the split base maps are both in the first 3 games, so we'll definitely see both of those. We've seen a lot of aggression on Arctic Dream in past series from these players as well, so I wouldn't be too shocked to see that once again. But you know, there's a lot that can happen. It doesn't necessarily have to be aggression. I'm just sort of expecting it for map number 1 at the very least. Alrighty. I think we are, yep, we're counting down into game. Everybody, welcome. We are starting off 3 series tonight. Pretty exciting.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
All right, we are loading into the bottom right-hand side, I think. Or no, top left? Bottom right, sorry. Right-hand side of Arctic Dream LE, we have the red Protoss player. He is. And his ally, the orange Protoss, he is.
Dark Menace.
Together, they are.
GG Izzy.
I think we're adjusting the production window before we do the top left-hand side, so just waiting on that. Oh, I don't know which camera I'm supposed to follow at this point. Okay, I think it's this one. All right, in the top left-hand side of the map, the blue Zerg player, question mark, he is.
Regret.
And his ally, the purple Protoss, he is.
The Archaic.
Together, they are.
Team Codeo.
Let me tell you, every now and then when it comes to the 4v4s, I'm just like panically tapping through the various different observer hotkeys trying to figure out which one's the right one, and we'll get it eventually, and we did here, but it's always a little bit of a fun little mini game for me to play at the beginning of the games. Anyways, we got our players. We did start off with a gas block out of Dark Menace on the Archaics. Vespine guys are there. And, I mean, we've talked about this in the past. Absolutely blew KJ's mind with this revelation. But if you don't see an expansion out of the Archaic by this point in the game, you're probably getting all in. And so I think we're going to see an all in here in game number 1 out of Codeo. But That said, Neutrophil does go for the scout, sees that there's no expansion. Oh, but now he is in fact going for an expansion, just a very late one, especially considering the gas block. Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that one. Does get pylon blocked as well. Takes a second gas, though, and could use that Zealot that cleared the Vespine Geyser to go clear the pylon block, but it does get canceled anyways. Probe's still down there, though, being a bit of an annoyance. Running around. Zealot is trying to chase it down. Needs to target down that pylon, though. Neutrophil being such a pain here in the early game. On the other side of the map, we do have a Stargate coming down for Neutrophil and a robotics facility for Dark Menace. Natural base is on the way for both players. Regret is droning up and getting that link speed as well. Mr. Overlord on the way. So I guess it is in fact an expansion, so perhaps not an all-in. Very late expansion, as I said, considering the gas block. That's a very late expansion and a little bit inflexible out of the Archaic, I gotta say. When you're up against two Protosses, there's not that much reason to not just take the forward expansion and then just use that pocket expansion for a third later on into the game. If there's a Zerg, I kind of understand it, but Protoss, you're not too worried about that, I don't think. That said, we do have Phoenix on the way for Neutrophil. Unfortunately, the Archaic's going for his more classic strategy of Void Rays, which do not do well against Phoenix. That said, Void Rays that are able to be anchored by Hydralisks can be quite strong. So we'll see if that is indeed what they go for. And a big all-in here could do quite well against Neutrophil, who is just going for Phoenix. What does his ally have to help defend? Not much. 2 Adepts and a Sentry. That said, there is a shield battery in position, and I do believe he has battery overcharge available. Oh, but the Void Rays... Oh, it's a proxy Void Ray build. That's actually kind of genius. Tries to target down... I think he should have just kept going, right? I don't know. Maybe target the pylon instead. Just run down that battery overcharge. The Void Ray instead accomplishes nothing by trying to run away. But now going over to the ally here, but he does have a shield battery as well. Is it close enough to the Nexus? I think it's close enough to the Nexus for an overcharge. Oh, maybe not. That's like right on the edge. I don't think it is. I don't think he can battery overcharge that. Man, if they'd gone for him straight away, I think they would have closed out at least a player in this game pretty easily. As there was not much there to defend, and obviously Phoenix not the most helpful. That other battery does finish up, but it's already low on energy because of that nerf was not close enough to the Nexus to have full energy, and now the batteries are completely gone. There's no battery overcharge for another 15 or 20 seconds, which means this Stalker will fall, and these Phoenix are next to worthless in this fight. And with the full surround on that Cybernetics core, it will fall quickly, but targeting the pylon instead, I think it would have been better to target that Cyber core, but instead it's going to have to just pull back with the Void Ray popping out now as well. Still does force a full wall off out of Neutrophil, so not the end of the world. Behind this, the Archaic has managed to get his natural base up and is nearly caught up on workers to his opponents. The one that's really kind of hurting here is Regret, but Zerg has the best economy building in the game once they get the time for it. However, Adepts are warped into his main base. He has a lot of Zerglings, though. If he responds to this quickly, these 5 Adepts should not be able to get too much damage done. Needs to just chase the Shade. Does indeed chase it. And 5 Adepts without Glaives actually kill drones pretty slowly, especially whenever there's any units nearby them, because then you have to manually target fire like all of them on the same drone, which makes it takes quite a while to get much done. That said, Regret, he's still only on 23 workers. As Neutrophil does go back into double Phoenix production, got that +1 on the way as well. The Archaic is going to try and catch up on the Phoenix production from very far behind on it. It's going to be 8 Phoenix to 0 at the moment. With that +1 upgrade coming out as well. I think perhaps not the play here. Maybe should have just gone for a more ground-based composition and given up the Phoenix War entirely. Still, man, Regret does try and go across the map with his Lings, which means these Zealots are going to continue to get damage here. At the same time, though, there's not much to help defend here at home. Can maybe target down that Cyber Core if he so desires, but the Zealots are getting a lot of damage on the other side of the map. The Phoenixes of Neutrophil find the Phoenixes of the Archaic, but there is a shield battery here, which means he actually trades fairly efficiently there. Should be able to clean up those units as well. He's able to save a Cyber Core, though, and that's very big. The wall off stays strong. I think this was a little bit of a too little too late type move. Still, though, they are able to clean up the harassment on the other side of the map, but it's 50 workers and 47 for GG Izzy, only 28 and 37 for Kadeo, who, despite having Phoenix, have taken absolute ages to clean up this Warp Prism, only just now managing to do so, and that is painful for sure. Even the Hydra Den will get targeted down. Will he be able to save it? No. No save on the Hydra Den, but honestly, I think if he'd just gone for workers, it might have been more potent there, as that's just 100 minerals and 100 gas instead of what could have easily been another 8 drones. That said, I'm not sure if they have the units they need to survive against an onslaught of an army this big out of Dark Menace. Supplies heavily in favor of GG Izzy currently, as they do find a Void Ray as well. It is +1 air upgrades for Neutrophil to 0 air upgrades for the Archaic. And no Hydra Tech. He is going for a Bane bust, though, and Neutrophil trying to take a third base may expose himself, but in a illegal way. Now, the Adepts do get caught by the Zerglings, but who's catching who? Well, with the Banelings coming in, I think it is indeed going to be the Adepts getting caught here. Phoenix do try to save the day here, and with a good force field, GG's going to have to be called here as all the Lings do get caught. Well, a relatively straightforward game one. I think maybe this is something we talked about back when the Blind and the Deaf were heading in to their match against GG Izzy, was with your all-ins, if they're in a separate main base, you should be targeting the weaker player in every case, because sure, they might not be able to do as much, but they're also going to be a lot easier to kill. And that was a really good example of that. Dark Menace did have a shield battery, but it was way too far away from his main base to have an overcharge on it. And so he would have been easily broken by those initial 2 Void Rays and Zerglings. Going for the stronger player is a much higher risk and reward, but it's not a risk and reward that's really needed, I don't think, as it's very, very hard for one player to beat 2 at this level. You're not talking about, special is the one player and the 2 players are a couple of bronzies. Everyone's relatively the same skill level, and so you got to go for the weaker player. And obviously Dark Menace isn't necessarily the weaker player, but in that case, because he's playing his off race and Neutrophil is playing his main race, he is the weaker player. In that specific instance, if they swap to Dark Menace being Zerg and Neutrophil being Terran or something like that, then once again, it flips. Kill Neutrophil. But a little too late to be worrying about that. As it is, they're maybe both going there off race. Okay, no. It is going to be Dark Menace on Zerg and Neutrophil on Terran. I do like the idea with the all-in. It was very clever. And I think maybe if you target the shield battery right away with the 2 Void Rays, it works, right? I think that might have been the play as soon as you see that. I think they could have even killed Neutrophil right there. As Neutrophil, his Phoenix strategy is cool, but it does not work well against an attack. Phoenix are the worst possible unit you can make as the Protoss, really, to try and hold an attack. Nonetheless, we're going in to the next game, and here we are in the bottom right-hand side, the blue Zerg player. He is
Regret.
And his ally, the purple Protoss player, he is
The Archaic.
Together, they are
Team Codeo.
their opponents. In the top left-hand side, we got the orange Zerg player. He is
Dark Menace.
And his ally, the red Terran, he is
Neutrophil.
Together, they are
GG Izzy.
all right. So we do see a quick expansion out of both of our Zerg players here. And nothing out of the Protoss just yet as far as expansion goes, neither for the Terran, but of course that's to be expected. They take their expos a little bit later there. I will say, I think the Archaic's build was definitely thrown off pretty heavily by the gas block. And that's something as well. I mean, life pro tip with ET, if you see a probe and they're near your main base and you're Terran or Protoss, and just right-click a probe onto your gas and then hit H to hold position it, and that will prevent them from building a building on there because you're blocking the space. It costs you very little minerals, and it can save your entire build. So, anyways, Neutrophil once again going to go for a block here, but with the probe chasing the SCV, there won't be any sort of E-base shenanigans readily available. Obviously, you can throw one down, but the SCV would die pretty quickly and leave not much left. Do have a quick factory on the way for Neutrophil. Will we see the double nuke rush build here? I don't see any SCVs particularly on the map, so in theory, no. I do see a proxy Stargate on the map, though. Shabang, says the Archaic. Let's try it again. I think this has more potential this time around. Neutrophil did not try walling their main ramp, and he's going for Cyclones, which will help against the Void Rays. But that's about all it will help against. As I don't think they've really gotten much of a read on the fact that the Archaic did not expand, by the way, which he will expand eventually. It's just going to be a late expand behind that proxy Stargate. Obviously, do not have a read on the Stargate itself. I think they managed to chase away the SCV at a timing where it seems like the Archaic could still be expanding. So, definitely a decent position here for Kadeo heading into this. As it is going to be a mech play. So basically, Cyclones can counter Void Rays, but if the Void Ray starts shooting the Cyclone, then it can just chase it down for all of eternity and kill it pretty quickly. So it's sort of a all or nothing sort of defense of it. Typically, you want to have a couple bunkers with Marines in the way so that the Void Ray can't just chase forever. But Dark Menace, he knows what's up. They're scouting this relatively late, though, but there are Bay Nests on the way for both players, so I think it's early enough that they can still hold here. I'd like to see maybe a Spine Crawler out of Dark Menace on his natural base. He has taken a third, and that first Void Ray is on the way. It is essential that the Archaic does not lose this first Void Ray here. Catching a Void Ray of Dark Menace is relatively nice, but the Cyclones do get a lock on here. I think he'll manage to dodge out of vision pretty quickly. Indeed, he does. Instead, it will be an Overlord going down for Regret, which does supply block him pretty significantly. Has to fire up 3 Overlords. He is expanding himself. But the Void Rays, they are able to help against these Lings. The Terran army is relatively immobile compared to the air units and Zerglings of their opponents. Trying to target down the Bane Nest even. I do like that. I think that's pretty cute, but definitely should have retargeted onto those Cyclones, I think. Cyclones are not quite caught by the Lings of Regret, as Banelings do finish up. More Lings pouring across the map for Regret, but that supply block is hurting him so much here. And no Void Rays here to help just yet either. As we see double Shield Battery, double Robo on the way for the Archaic. So getting a little defensive here. As Regret, he is pouring more Lings out, so we'll be able to defend the Lings and Banes of Dark Menace in theory, but obviously you still have to micro that engagement pretty well in order for that to work out for you. The Lings of Regret trying to defend his third base. They do find the Baneling Cocoon, so he's aware that this is coming. Just barely kills that Bane before it finishes morphing, and even a great split off overall. I think some of those were accidental, but at least a couple of them were on purpose, and that was fantastic play out of Regret. And he finds a lot of the Lings with his own Banes of Dark Menace, so very well played overall thus far. Cleans up a lot of the Banelings here, but more popping. And those 4 Cyclones are so dangerous. The Immortals are on their way out. 1 out already, 2 more on the way. There are some shield batteries to help as well. The Bames trying to catch the army, but instead the third base will go down. Still a decent position for both sides here. Nobody in a particular lead. Obviously, Dark Menace did manage to keep his third base alive, which was pretty nice. I think maybe it would have been smart for Regret to take the more recessed third base, considering they had forced out a lot of units from their opponent, but it's a whole lot to decide all at once, so no particular harm or foul. So the Cyclones are trying to catch their opponent. Not quite able to do so yet, and we do see a somewhat swap back into Bio as a +1 weapons on the way for Bio, but we do have an armory on the way as well. More Cyclones being pumped out. Cyclones able to shred expansions pretty easily, given the opportunity. Now a lot of Immortals out, and I'm not sure. I think they actually kind of hid those Immortals. I'm not sure if that tech was really seen by GG Izzy. And not just the tech, but the units themselves. I'm not sure if they're quite aware of those. Still, Immortals... Oh my gosh, that's not good at all. I was going to say the Immortals need that buffer at the front, and now they don't have it. So they really needed those Lings up front to protect them. And now that they don't have that, they're in a very exposed position. He needs to recall those front 3 Immortals and that Stalker very soon, like now. Or else the Cyclones are going to get lock-ons and it's going to be too late. Does not recall. That's 3 Immortals dead. Does it a little too late there. And again, taking that forward third base, I mean, with the position that you're in, I think you need to take the recessed one a bit more. Does kill 3 Cyclones, but that's for 3 Immortals and a Stalker already going down. So still better trades for Neutrophil and Dark Menace for sure here. Regret and the Archaic floundering a little bit. Regret had great splits against the Banelings initially, but then it seems like he kind of just gave up on the idea of microing against them at all. And you got to be really careful with Zerglings against Banelings. I bet you guys have never heard that one before. Drop does go into the main base from Neutrophil, but the Lings of Regret on the way to deal with it. But the real player here is Dark Menace. He's got a menacing force up in the top right. 4 Banelings coming into the natural base of Regret. He tries to run the drones. Will he be able to make it away? Maybe. Now that they're off creep, the answer should be yes, but the Archaic does some anti-micro there, unfortunately, and winds up not killing the Ling Bane, or just the Banes, I should say, when he originally would have. Very unfortunate there, for sure. And 2 more Banelings come in, kill even more workers. Doesn't look like we can see exactly how many. Okay, 13 drones have gone down for Regret at this point. Regret's economy is struggling, and Dark Menaces is looking fantastic as more Lings and Banelings pour into his main base as well. They're trying to just basically counter all in, but the attack of Dark Menaces here so much earlier. It's a little bit of an anti-move, I think. 2 more Immortals are on the way, and this is a strong force, especially against just pure Roach out of Dark Menace and not really many units to help from his ally here. Neutrophil's floating quite a bit of cash, but not quite a bit of army. The Immortals are ravaging the Roaches as there are no Ravagers for Dark Menace. He's a little low on gas, and they catch the army. SCV Boys Pole does come out. Do manage to kill 1 of the Immortals here, does the Cyclones of Neutrophil, but now the army of Dark Menace is gone. At the same time, though, just a simple 8 Marine drop has cleared out the entire economy of Regret and almost all of the army of the Archaic. And man, oh man, why aren't you chasing this corner? I mean, you've got the Cyclones in a corner. They really should have been chasing them down a little more vindictively, I think. Oh, and just pulling back the individual units that were being targeted here, I think. But we'll eventually clean them up. Dark Menace is trying to go into Mutalisk, but their Stalker's out. This is a wild game, but the economies are so much stronger for GG Izzy that I think they'll be able to just win with their rallies at this point. Still, the Immortals can bust through that bunker like it's nobody's business. Maybe they're trying to find the Spire to prevent more Mutas from popping. I think that's a decent enough plan. But now recalling, that's dead. You're dead. You can't recall here. You just don't have enough economy behind it. I mean, it's 50 workers for Dark Menace still to a combined 7 for the entire team. So it's really 70 workers to 7 right now. That is 10 times the economy here for GG Izzy. And yeah, you just can't recall. I think needed to trap those Cyclones a little bit quicker. They were able to get a lot more units than they had any right to. I mean, they were literally sitting in a corner and they just kind of let them sit there, move forward, lock on, run back, and they just didn't chase them down for an odd amount of time. I think a decent compositional choice here, but slacking off a little bit on microing against the Banelings and just not the best chase down on those Cyclones. I think another great choice would have been to just go double Stargate Phoenix behind your proxy Stargate, but yeah, now GG's is called. Okay. So they managed to do it. did GG Izzy so far. 2-0. And again, I think just some minor things out of Regret and the Archaic, but pretty big things. I think they can clean it up for sure. But yeah, I think the all-in was a decent choice. But you can't go back at that point. You know, you haven't done quite enough damage for that. So still, could go anyone's way, I do believe. All right, it's going to be Reclamation LE for our third game. Another sort of split main base, but the mains are a lot closer together, I think. And there's only 2 ramps out of the naturals, so the naturals are more conjoined as well. So we'll see exactly what the players opt for here. Felt like the Archaic and Regret really wanted to make that build work after it didn't work in game 1. And I think they had a chance, but Neutrophil just kind of, I don't know if it was on purpose or not, went for just a pretty fantastic counter with the Cyclones. And the Archaic, I think if he'd retargeted that Void Ray onto the Cyclones as soon as they came up while he was killing the Bane Nest, you at least heavily damage or kill a Cyclone there, and that makes a difference down the line. So, got to be on top of that micro, but we're loading into game nonetheless. Here we go.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
Alrighty, we are here in the top left-hand side of Reclamation LE, up 2-0. We've got our first team, the orange Protoss player. He is
Dark Menace.
And his opponent, the teal Protoss player. He is
Neutrophil.
Together, they are
GG Izzy.
their opponents in the bottom left-hand side of the map. The purple Protoss player, he is
The Archaic.
and his ally, the blue Zerg, he is
Regret.
together, they are
Team Codeo.
okay. So we actually see a scout out of both Dark Menace and Neutrophil in this game. Probes from both players, perhaps trying to fake a bit of a cannon rush or something, or just be a bit cheeky with it. And they're kind of managing to be a bit cheeky with it. Oh, the trade goes the way of the Archaic. 1v2ing his opponents already. Big gamer Chad moves out of the Archaic at the start of this game. We'll see what the players in the bottom right have planned here, though, as the onus has been on them in these games to get something done with the aggression they're leveraging. They haven't quite been able to do it just yet. That said, I'm really not sure, but I think the double Protoss of GG Izzy is a little bit more vulnerable than their Zerg Terran, just because the Phoenix build that Neutrophil likes to go for is very vulnerable to early game cheese, and Dark Menace, on the flip side of thing, likes to go for Ling Bane, which is very good against the Ling Bane of Regret. So just with those 2 quirks, I think that makes the double Protoss a little bit more vulnerable to the aggression. And it is aggression we are seeing. It's going to be a 4-gate out of the Archaic. So swapping things up, instead of going for the Void Rays direct, he's instead going to go for a whole lot of Stalkers, and I do like that. And obviously, they were able to kill both probes of their opponent, so shut down the scouting really hard, and I gotta kind of give a little bit of pushback. I think this is kind of a late scout out of Neutrophil to follow that up. Oh, but he sees a probe coming across. I don't know. I think the Archaic actually set that to mine or something like that, and then move back out there. I think you gotta just keep it at your gateway, because now it's sort of been exposed. Your strategy has been given away, but, you know, it's still not quite given away. Neutrophil, he's suspicious though. Once he sees no drones on this natural base for Regret, that'll be some big news for him. But I think it might be a little bit too little too late. Ling speed's finishing up. More Zerglings, more Banelings on the way. The shield battery is only just now finishing, and one effect of this map, you have to take a low ground natural, not a pocket natural, so the walls cannot be protecting those unless you go for a low ground wall off, which is pretty hard to pull. That said, of course, Neutrophil getting a lot of damage with his initial Adept, but not too much. And now, coming in, I mean, there is a Void Ray out, and Shield Battery Overcharge. Shield Battery Imba Charge coming down soon, I think. Yeah, with that, Void Ray getting dangerously low to dying. And I think, though, here, it's like, why not just kill the natural bases? I'm really confused here. There's no need to go... It seems like they really want to get the stronger player out of the picture in all these instances. When I think that's the exact opposite of what you should be going for here. You're really going to get the weaker picture out of the weaker player out of the picture, because they're going to be a lot easier to get out of the picture. I mean, just look at this. Even after you've already lost a bunch of your forces to Neutrophil, they are still absolutely annihilating Dark Menace's economy as he's down to only 19 workers. Nearly every probe in the main base does go down. And the Stalkers here are quite vulnerable as well. Baneling's coming out. Will be able to kill even more probes, or at least force lost mining time. And now the Stalkers can depower all of the production of Neutrophil, or of Dark Menace. And Neutrophil's fully walled himself in. His main advantage is those shield batteries. Shield battery overcharge already been used up for both players, though. And you could just go on top of these Stalkers. I think maybe they don't realize that shield battery overcharge was used up for Dark Menace as well as Neutrophil. And because I think if they knew that, they'd just go on these Stalkers. And finally they do. But still, they're being a little bit too timid. And where's the reinforcements for the Archaic? He's still... The Archaic has been supply blocked this whole time, ladies and gentlemen. He has made a grand total of 9 Stalkers prior to this, so that was decent at least. That was mostly because he'd lose the first 4 and then warp in 4 more, instead of having 14 Stalkers like he can have right now. And he would have absolutely annihilated these Void Rays. As it is, he's still going to kill all the current Void Rays for Neutrophil. But again, they're trying to go for the kill move. Just kill the natural base of Neutrophil, kill the base of Dark Menace, annihilate Dark Menace's economy, and now what does Neutrophil have? He's a 1-base Protoss against a 2-base Zerg and a 1-base Protoss with 6 gateways. He's never going to hold that. That said, they are finally going in here. But this shield battery on the low ground is within range. I think just kill the shield batteries. I don't know. They're trying to target down the overcharged battery, maybe just let it run out. Immortals and Void Rays out, though. And like I said, they're just so insistent on killing Neutrophil when you could literally just kill Dark Menace at any time, and now you can't kill Dark Menace at any time. You've let them group up. You've let them get out Immortals. I don't know. It just seems like the priorities here were a little bit off for Kadeo. They do catch the Immortal of Dark Menace, which is nice. That Void Ray, you know, can get jumped on by Stalkers pretty easily. There's no battery overcharge. Oh, and they'll even depower the batteries. I do like that choice. And it may be that Neutrophil trying to push down here. That was a whole other thing I was going to talk about. Not only are you more likely to kill the weaker player, but you're also likely to force a mistake out of the stronger player trying to come down and help the weaker player away from his shield batteries. And that gives you a lot of potential there. Now, that said, I still don't know if they're going to be able to push through, but it's looking better for them at least. 16 more Lings on the way, more pouring across the map, more Stalkers coming in as well. There's no shield batteries down here on the low ground, but once again, 2 more Void Rays are out. But a lot of Stalkers out for the Archaic as well. They got to just run away from these Void Rays until the overcharge or the alignment has run down. Still, though, Dark Menace is rebuilt to 32 workers, Neutrophil on 26, and he's been mining off his natural base so unnecessarily this whole time. I think maybe this reads like an all-in that they've practiced a little bit more in customs than they have in 2v2s. Just the execution, and this is something a lot of players run into. You're just not quite sure how to actually execute your build here. And again, they're going up to try and kill Neutrophil. Go kill Dark Menace. Every time they clean up the army, and then they're like, and now I'm going to throw mine away into shield battery overcharge against Void Rays. I don't know. It's just, it's not going to work. Surely at this point, you have to know that you got to go for the other player here. They are going for him again, but it feels like every time they do it, it's after that person has managed to rebuild their economy, get out some units, and it's late enough into it that they're not able to get as much damage as they would have been able to achieve if they'd just gone for it immediately. Still, they are managing to depower these batteries on the low ground again, but why are you... Please don't run past those probes in the natural base. They're running past the probes in the natural. Kill the probes in the nat. There we go. Okay, they're doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's wild. Lots of Stalkers out now, though, but Lings do counter Stalkers pretty heavily. The overcharged Void Rays, though, very strong against the Stalkers of the opponents, and I think they've run out of steam here. I think this is a stable game now for GG Izzy. A stable game is a 1 game, I think, as there's just not any economy behind this for Kodeo. Archaic still has not expanded. He's on 6 gateways. He's trying to go into a Twilight Council, but it felt like they had so many opportunities to kill Kodeo here. Or not Kodeo, but Dark Menace, and they just really wanted Neutrophil instead. And it's wound up costing them, I think, their chances at the finals here, as this is obviously, if they lose here, it's all over. It's a dire situation. It's 34 supply and 39 supply against 47 and 71. And you're down an entire base. And the Archaic's main base is running out of minerals, which obviously is happening to everyone else as well, but he's the only person with no other economy until that Nexus finally finishes up. They're going to try and macro out of this. The economies, though, are far stronger for their opponents, almost double at this point. I think we're going to see Hydras out of Regret here, which is a solid choice. Blink and Hydras, I think, is what we're going to see out of Kodeo, which does do decently well against the armies of their opponents. Regret trying to drone up, but he's also trying to get up his tech. He's trying to get up gas mining. They're just in a rough position at this point. The Archaic, oh my goodness, Neutrophil is hiding a 3rd base. Well, classic Neutrophil. It reminds me a little bit of Rocker on the GM in a ladder. He's a Protoss who has about 3 tricks, 2 of which are hiding bases, and once you learn that, it becomes a little bit easier to play against him. But seems like a lot of players take a while for it to occur to them with Neutrophil that that's the case. It's funny, if I were in their positions and I saw the amount of units that Neutrophil was pushing out, I might have thought he had a hidden base already. It looks like Regret is sort of having that idea pop into his mind. But now here come the Zealots of Dark Menace. They are slow Zealots, which is nice, and the Archaic does not have Blink? Does have Blink. Okay, so it does have Blink. He will be able to come up and help defend this. And as they are not charge lots, I don't think they were able to kill really anything, just some lost mining time. But we've got to see if Kodeo is a little bit better with the object permanence this time around, as I think in game number 1, it just felt like they'd clean up the units that the Warp Prism warped in, but they'd never really checked for the Prism. And obviously, it's something you gotta, unfortunately, I hate it too, you gotta do. 5 Adepts on the way for Dark Menace, and it looks like they're maybe going for a kill move here, as Neutrophil has a lot of Stalkers, a lot of Void Rays. There is Blink out. There are Sentries, which will help with Guardian Shield. But these Adepts are nothing but a mere distraction. In comes the army of Neutrophil, I think, and Dark Menace. However, they pull back a little bit, which means these Adepts will get cleaned up. Just killing the gateway for now of the Archaic. Joke's on you. He doesn't have enough money to spend anything there anyways. 3rd base of Regret will go down. He built up an economy, but that's about it thus far. They needed another minute or 2 in this game, I think. Game pause, though. Oh, okay, that works. I was about to ask why, and then, well, there you go. That's why. Neutrophil froze. So probably going to end up crashing here as well. Yeah, he actually glitched out the Blizzard API. He was playing beyond the computer's comprehension. Just a little bit too fast, a little bit too smart, and the servers couldn't keep up. So we'll probably have to redo this game, or not redo, but recreate it from replay. Man, they definitely did come the closest in this game, did Kodeo, but I really should have messaged him after game 1. I don't think that's legal, but I should have been like, kill the off race. Indeed, they do lag out. So we will go ahead and recreate that from replay. Not the end of the world, of course. A little unfortunate on the timing there. Little unfortunate for sure. But despite me going a little crazy, I do have to give props to Regret and the Archaic. I think they definitely made a conscious decision to try and take out the stronger player in each game. And they stuck with that. Obviously, the adjustment that I'm talking about isn't necessarily something you're going to think of on the fly after it doesn't go well in game one. You're probably just going to think, gotta execute it better. And so, you know, without anyone being able to, without the little angel or devil or whatever it would be, without the little David Kim on your shoulder telling you what to do, you know, it's hard to adjust in that type of way during a series. So I do appreciate the consistency in their choice and sticking with their plan. You know, just saying, just got to execute better. Don't need to change anything else. So still very good by them overall. GG Izzy obviously looking pretty dang strong. And once we get Neutrophil back on, we'll be able to get back into that game. And I think a decent chance that this will be the final push. It is actually, as the game crashed, I think the final push is really beginning. But obviously, after this game is done, assuming they do win it, and we don't continue on in this series, don't go anywhere. Because we do have 2 more series to follow this up. There will be 1v1s from the Code A finals. And then moving up into the Code S play-ins from the winner of the Code A finals against our very own KJ Freedom. So make sure to stick around for that, as it should be pretty exciting all around. I think we are still just waiting on Neutrophil. Should be another minute or 2, as I believe it was a full PC crash potentially, not just a game crash, so it takes a little bit longer to get back into that. He has joined the lobby. He is ready. I think we'll just check with the players, and then we're going to load in. It'll take a minute or 2 to fully recreate the game, speed through it. With it being, it was actually a fairly long game. We were, I think, about 12, 15 minutes in, so it could take a minute, but we'll be in very soon. And we'll see the conclusion of this game, potentially the conclusion of the series, but I still got my fingers crossed that Kadea takes it to Game 5. We'll see. So we are now in the recovery process, and yeah, it takes a little bit longer because the game's a little bit longer, but it still looks like it's going to be about 30 seconds, so no harm, no foul. I'm sure Neutrophil will take the prize money from this 2v2 win if he does manage to achieve it. And obviously that will be enough to just buy a brand new gaming PC easily, because we pay the big bucks around here. Now, we're just waiting on our players to go through. It's just recovering. We're almost halfway there. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll give another quick shout out, I think, to our Patreon sponsors. I'll see if I can remember you off the top of my head. I know it's, I believe, Stu Blue, Cyan, Rogue Ranch, Hyper Turtle, maybe, in the VIP slot, and then our newest, it's PCH. Big thanks to you all for helping to support this excellent tournament. Hey, I got them all right. Cool. They popped up on screen for me just now. Fantastic. So big thanks to you guys. Shout outs to y'all, and we look forward to making the next season even better for our players with your support. And of course, we've already managed to make this season a whole lot better with that increased prize pool. So thanks again. We are almost there, just about loaded in. Say another 10 seconds. So if you sat back in your chair and are, you know, elbow deep in a thing of popcorn, go ahead and sit back up and buckle back in, because we are here. And our players are ready, I do think. So we'll be loading in momentarily. And as we're loading in, I will say, I think another minute or 2 might have been the difference here. I don't think they necessarily would be ahead, but they'd definitely be in a playable position. As it is, they're so far down in that supply. But just having more Hydras and more Lings, Hydras actually do quite well against Void Rays and Stalkers, and they do better against them than the Stalkers themselves do. And so they can kind of buffer and allow those Stalkers to be in the back, getting damage done. Oh, but great target fire thus far out of Neutrophil on those Void Rays, I will say. Battery Overcharge hasn't been used yet, so good patience on that by the Archaic. And by patience, maybe he forgot it, maybe it's patience, who knows. I'm going with patience. We need to see it popped now, though, or else it's not patience. Okay, it was patience. Good. And, I think we are going to see the Protoss players from the top left. GG Izzy coming from the top rope will be able to take down Kadeo here as the armies are melting and GGs are called. Man, oh man, Seth, take us through that.
So we knew we weren't really gonna win a macro match with them. I mean, the 3 games really showed that. So we just like let's try to end it early. But really, just all 3 games we just got pretty countered, except for that last game. I think our mistake they were just not transitioning fast enough.
I don't know. I think, especially for the second game, the macro could have been better, because it was a lot of Ling Bane. So I feel like if I lost less Lings, I could have won. I also, maybe if I had more money, I could have done something, but I don't know. I think my early game macro needs to be better in order to power through.
Well, I did want to ask. So, I mean, obviously, it felt like game 1 Archaic. You kind of got thrown off pretty heavily. I mean, when you're trying to go for a 1 base Void Ray all in, and then your gas gets blocked, it's not the best day at the shop. But overall, it seemed like you guys were trying to set your sights on whoever was stronger in each given match, like who was playing their main race. Like it seemed like you tried to target Neutrophil in game 1, and then a bit more in Dark Menace in game 2, and then Neutrophil in game 3. Is that an intentional decision, or was that kind of just how the cards fell?
I think we actually tried to go for Neutrophil in the second game. I think we just somehow just started going for Dark Menace.
Okay, I see. So you just don't like Neutrophil in particular, basically, is what I'm hearing. Okay, perfect. All right, and then game 3. It felt like maybe you guys felt, like you really wanted to close it out, and so you kind of kept going into the mains to try and close it, particularly Neutrophil's main, and you just had that shut down really hard, and you ended up bleeding off a lot of units. And then at that point, it's a little bit more difficult to just take the naturals. So, I mean, obviously, you'll probably look back at the VODs. I think you guys played very well overall, and it was very close in each game. I think game 1, was like one micro thing really could have made the difference. Game 2, obviously, just I think there were a couple big Bane hits that kind of turned the tide of the Ling Bane war against y'all. And then game 3, just minor little decision-making things, but very well played overall. You guys looked great, and I hope to see you back next season looking even stronger.
Yeah, so I made some changes on my setup here. Let me know in chat if you guys can't hear me still. But good games, Kodeo. Look forward to seeing you guys again next season. Congratulations to getting the 2nd place. And while we let go Kodeo, so the Archaic can start his veto selections, his game against Criminal. Let's congratulate Team GG Izzy for getting the finals victory for this 2v2. Congratulations. How do you guys feel?
Honestly, those last 2 games were really stressful, so we're kind of glad to win here. But yeah, it was just for fun. And I guess we do have the bragging rights now.
What about you, Dark Menace? Anything from you about these 2v2 games?
House Masters, I guess. That's it.
That's it. All right, come on, help me out here, ET. Let's see if we can get some sound bites out of these guys.
Oh, let's see. Okay, so game 2. Did you feel like there was another Void Ray coming your way, and that's why you went for Cyclones Neutrophil, or was that sort of just the plan all along with your Terran?
The plan was to get gas really early and make it look like I was gonna do my nuke build again. So hopefully they would see my gas and they start rushing out the detection and everything. But really, we'd build up for a Cyclone hit up front.
Okay, interesting. Okay, that makes sense then. So just sort of a happy, a happy instance or coincidence there for you. Interesting. Okay, and then game 3, I mean, it felt like at points that y'all were going to be just completely dead, but shield battery overcharge kind of held out. Did you feel dead at any point in that game? And then it was like, kind of the turnaround to be like, well, maybe we're actually okay here. Or did you feel at least all right throughout?
I felt really good when I had 2 Void Rays, and then I look away, and then I think I move commanded them over his stalkers or something, so I just lost him. So there I was like, oh, we might actually lose this now. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, I got a little bit for you, Seth.
Let's see if we can get KJ Freedom to ask some questions here. Let's bring him in as well. KJ, do you have any questions?
Yeah, my questions was more on the other side because for this one, I knew their game plan. They were actually just, obviously I'm observing, so I'm seeing how they could have lost, but it didn't happen. So the games were a lot closer than the 3-0 says. So I don't really have any questions except for that. That's the comments.
Gotcha. All right, well, congratulations, Team GG Izzy. We'll look forward to see your 1v1 games in Code S. And again, congratulations.
GG.
All right, switch gears. Going back to our 1v1, the staple of StarCraft 2.
Uh-oh.
And this
Here it
is, let's actually bring in Criminal here. We still have the Archaic here, but let's bring in Criminal here. There we go. Joining us now, let's actually bring him in on camera. There we go. All right. Criminal, how are you? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So we have Criminal and the Archaic here. So since we're talking to Criminal, how are you? And what do you think about the game's gonna go tonight?
I think I'm gonna be destroyed. I have no practice,
Really?
no warm up, so I'm hoping he goes easy the first 2 games.
All right. Since I'm echoing, I'm gonna let KJ and ET do the questions here.
Yeah, so let me start here. Nice shirt there, by the way. Love the Puma. That's my favorite brand right now, and the
Oh yeah,
BMW
yeah.
thing, right? So you have a BMW motorcycle, so you're hoping to be really quality and fast in this game. Is that right? Is that your mode right now?
Against Protoss, you have to be, I think, very fast.
Very fast. Well, if you're Terran, you have to be very fast. Period, right? You don't seem confident, but I think you won 2-1 in your last match against the Archaic. I don't remember how close the games were. ET, what do you think? Do you remember? I thought it was the games were he kind of edged them out.
Yeah, I think it was relatively close. Obviously, I think it's been a long enough period, and it was close enough that
Yeah,
it
go
could be
either way.
anywhere.
Yep.
But I think Criminal's underselling himself a little bit here for sure. But I guess we can talk a little bit to the Archaic as well. Obviously, coming off the back of that match, hopefully this one I'm sure you hope goes a little bit better. Let's see. Are you at all? It felt like Criminal kind of switched up his playstyle a little bit in the semifinals there. Does that worry you a little bit in terms of your preparation for him, or do you still feel pretty confident you'll be able to handle what he throws at you?
I'm scared. I think I might be able to pull it off and be able to win.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
KJ, did you have any questions for our young lad here before we get going?
Young lad, I think you feel like you are the underdog, but should you pull the upset, right? What do you attribute it to? Your amazing builds or just hard work and practice?
I'm not sure, actually. It might have to depend on the game. I think the way the game goes. But yeah,
Got
not
it.
sure.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, I think we're good to go. This is gonna be fun. ET, I'm gonna join you and help out on this cast. This is gonna be a lot of fun.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Well, good luck. Have fun, gentlemen. I'm gonna mute and deafen you. We'll talk to you guys after the match.
Okay.
All
GG.
right.
Let's go.
Okay, well, as they're getting muted and deafened, I just gotta say, you can help me cast, but your help better not be. So what should I do here, and what should I do against that? I'm just joking.
Nah,
But,
definitely not. I'm not too.
obviously-
I'm definitely gonna have fun here. I don't even
Yeah.
have a game plan per se because I could face either of these guys.
Right,
So I'm
yeah.
like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you could be facing a Terran or a Protoss, but also a Terran with the Archaic,
Yeah.
of course. So it's a little bit hard to prep for that.
Yep.
So I guess we can go for predictions real quick. I don't know, man. I'm feeling the Archaic a little bit tonight. Obviously, he's had a warm up in that 2v2. Criminal says
That's
he has this.
true.
I'm gonna go 3-2 in favor of the Archaic. What about you?
I'm gonna say 3-1 criminal. There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, we're loading into match. It's gonna be Hardwire LE as we load in. Alrighty, in the bottom left-hand side of the map, we got the blue Terran player. He is.
The Archaic.
And his opponent, the purple Protoss player in the top right, he is.
I don't expect the Archaic to pull off any off race here because TVT, criminal's gonna be pretty favored, right? Above more so than this one is.
Let's introduce the Terran because I messed that up.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
sure.
All right. Reintroducing back again. He is.
Criminal.
That's right. It's the playoffs, ET. We gotta introduce the players, I guess. You know, they gotta get their due. And there he
Absolutely.
is.
And I'm not sure if this is on my screen or not, but it looks like there's a gray bar across the top half of the screen, or like
Yeah,
a
yeah, I
small
think-
green bar. But anyways, we can worry about the cast for the moment.
Yeah, I
and-
think Seth has to. I think he might have clicked it with the mouse and highlighted the production window by mistake, but it should
okay.
be disappearing.
Well, not the end of the world, I suppose.
Yep.
We got a 3-1 for Archaic from DLS Mazel. Bold.
Yeah.
Not just a win, but a pretty dominating win, obviously. It's funny because, you know, with the best of 3, as long as you take one map, then at worst it's like, 2-1. It doesn't really look that big of a difference. But a best of 5, suddenly you can win a game and it still looks pretty one-sided, with like a 3-1. But
Yeah.
anyways, we do have a Reaper expand, it looks like, out of Criminal, and a core first. Void Ray
Oh,
Rush.
no.
Oh my goodness.
I
We
don't
just
agree
talked
with
about this.
I don't agree with this. I think we talked about. Yeah, we said that there's no way criminal is not gonna scout, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really think so. Obviously, his previous match against Cyan, it felt like if there was one thing you knew, it's that Criminal was going to scout every inch of his side of the map for
I mean,
proxies.
look at
and
that. Yeah, look at
Yeah.
his. Yeah.
he's
there you
going to
go.
see it. I mean, the Stargate is down. He's going to scout it a lot later than he scouted it when Cyan was doing it. And so it's actually, I think, going to come down to, execution on the defense. So he's not going to be able to just shut this down for free
Yes.
like he did against Cyan. Unless the Archaic decides to just cancel the Void Ray straight up right here.
Yeah.
Or not the Void Ray, but the Stargate. I don't think we're
You-
going to see that, though. Oh, he's pulling triple SCV. I think the Archaic was a little late on these batteries.
He
And
needs
also
to put
needs to get
another
another
pylon.
pylon. Yeah, he really needs to get that
Oh
down with
my
that bro,
gosh.
but now the Reaper's going to chase it down.
He
Still,
has
though,
another
I think-
pylon probe coming on the left, so.
Yeah, probe's coming. That, and we also see the other purple dot is a stalker coming across, so we'll be able to push back.
Ooh.
And these 4 SCVs is a big commitment here. And what do we see to actually counter that? Not a whole lot. Although he's
man,
not making a pylon. Although
He
the
needs to
shield
make
battery's
a
going to finish
pylon.
up.
What's he doing? Oh, there
If
you
he
go.
clicks with the shield batteries, it won't matter. Yeah, and this is this is actually very
Oh
good
my
for the Archaic
goodness.
here. Oh, and he's just making double Marine. He's getting a Widowmine on the way, but double Marine loses to a Void Ray, especially when it can retreat to those shield batteries. I think we're going to see a
Oh,
forward
no.
battery here as well. You will have 4, but again, like this, at this point, it comes down to the execution of the defense. And typically, whenever their player is so adamant about shutting it down before it happens, like Criminal, that's because they just really don't want to have to play against it, and that means they very rarely actually do play against it. Because most of the time,
Yeah.
Criminal's just going to shut it down before it even happens. So we'll have to see if he's able to actually defend it once it happens.
So far, okay, but
Yeah,
you know,
not too
he
bad.
didn't micro the SCVs. I think he could have done a better job there. They were just kind of 2 was attacking, not 4.
Yeah, I mean, the Reaper took just long enough to move back over after killing the probe as well. I think that was the difference between that pylon going down before the shield battery finishes and not. So obviously a bit painful there as well. The mine hit is mostly against shield, so it's not the end of the world there, but it feels like the Archaic's... okay, the Archaic is probing behind this, and he's going straight into Tempest.
And yeah, he's got a base too. He's not... Yeah, this is really good for... I actually give kudos to both of them, because they both have bases. I don't think this...
Yeah,
anything already.
I think we should have seen a second Void Ray, though, and maybe a bit more pressure on that natural base with, like, the first couple Void Rays and the Stalker.
I don't think he's serious, man. If he's not making another Void Ray, I think he's just making him overreact at this point. I think
Well, no, because he's got a Fleet Beacon. He's going Tempest, but I think, you know, he had the money to make another Void Ray, so you may as well have that extra unit here, right?
I see, yeah.
Instead, it's just wasted build time on the Stargate, because it's not like he didn't have the money for it. So he is, I think, going to try and macro out of this, but at the same time, he's making double gas and saturating it really quickly. So he might just be trying to go for a 2 base, you know, 1.5 base economy all in with like double Tempest.
Have you played this, man? I played against Tempest, and I thought I was prepared, and sometimes they just power right through, right? Especially when you get that upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, the turrets will just melt.
He's getting it right now. Oh, man.
He's even chronoing it, so the turrets will be gone, but there's going to be 4 Cyclones with Magfield, and Tempests are a very squishy unit, especially against Magfield Cyclones. So this is going to be a lot of micro needed here. I like the cannons, though, so it's going to be hard for Criminal to just push down and try and break the actual position right away. He's going to have to play this a little bit longer, a little bit slower. That is pre-Magfield. He snags a Cyclone before Magfield Accelerator's done. He either needs to pull back or target just the Cyclones. And oh my gosh, I mean, you could kind of see the instant Magfield finished up because the Void Ray went from being out-healed or out-healing DPS with the shield battery to almost dying. And that's the difference. Magfield's like a massive damage boost against armored units, which obviously every unit that the Archaic is making is one of those. But yeah, he's almost lost 2. Oh, and he's going to try and go for the bust. And there's 2 cannons down here, and there's going to be... Oh, he was a little late on his next round of Tempest, but if these 4 Tempests get out and then he goes for a bust, I don't think that's going to go very well for him.
Yeah.
He needs to be targeting these Marines. You got to get the units first and foremost. Obviously can one-shot those Marines with the Tempest Volleys. And now Tectonic Destabilizers is done, so even the production is going to be pretty exposed. And another Cyclone. And this is what I was talking about. It's similar to, like, folks who just pull like every drone against a cannon rush, and a lot of times they do kill a cannon rush, but if they don't, they just don't have much experience fighting it, and it feels that way for Criminal. He knows the ideas, I think, here. You know, this is the right picture.
That thing goes.
But I think you also need Vikings here. At least I see it in pretty much every defense. Yeah, he's trying to break out, but with 2 cannons, 4 Tempest is enough to one-shot Cyclones, and that's the main DPS in this army. Without the Cyclones, the Tempest can just kite the Marines forever because they don't have stem. And yeah, not even a cannon has gone down yet. He kills 1 Stalker.
Man. There's just no coming back from this. I think as long as he keeps the Tempest alive.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 2 production buildings. The Stargate just now finished up, or Starport, I should
look
say.
At that.
And yeah, so now it's just 2 Cyclones. He's got another one on the way. Oh, but excellent play out of the Archaic. Even getting that Oracle, that's very smart, and allows him to clean up the Widowmine as well. And this factory is not long for this world unless it flies away and gets repaired yesterday.
Lights out right there. He loses that.
Yeah,
sure.
And that's pretty much game. I mean, he's got 3, I think, Cyclones. 2 Cyclones. That's 2 volleys out of the Tempest. He actually does target a Marine. So will lose 1, maybe even 2 Tempests. Oh, but he barely makes it. Oh, it does lose it.
Oh, he got back too fast.
Yeah, he tried to turn around a little bit too quick, but still it's 4 Tempests once again, and so that's going to be a Cyclone, you know, one-shotted.
That's the last 2 Cyclones he'll have for a while, because all he can make is Vikings, man.
Yeah, and not just that, I mean, he lost his barracks as well, so not only does he have to rebuild his barracks, but also his factory just to make Cyclones again. And so it's going to be another minute or 2 until you see any more Cyclones out. And with the Tempest's ability to one-shot those, and Vikings, they're only good at poking. They're not really actually that good against Tempest because Tempest outrange them so heavily. Obviously, for anyone not aware, although he has been making more shield batteries, he needs to make those. There we go. 4 more batteries on the way. And I actually maybe like to see a Nexus with this floating money. But anyways, he's going for third base even, yeah. So even if he holds here, I mean, his infrastructure is ravaged. And, well, not that he's going to hold here. But even if he does, you know, his infrastructure is heavily damaged. But anyways, I was saying, the anti-air range of Tempest is like 50% farther than the anti-ground range. So against Vikings, they actually kind of shred them, especially with the reveals there. And these turrets are basically just giving money to the Archaic. Tempest, at this point, I think, can one volley even the turrets when they're full HP. And we see almost all the Cyclones going down. And that micro here is so much easier for the Protoss once he has that tag, because you can just click onto that Cyclone from super far away. And I believe the lock-on range is slightly less than the anti-ground range of the Tempest, which means you're never going to be able to lock on and get away once that tag is on there, as long as they target your Cyclone. We're really kind of seeing that. I mean, the supplies are still relatively close, but that doesn't really tell the story in this case, as it's one Viking and one Cyclone at the moment, I think. Factory just now finishing up, but there's no add-on for it still. We'll have to make an add-on, and Cyclones don't build super quickly. And he's got that tag. There we go. There's the final Cyclone. And great play getting those cannons out of the Archaic, I will say. Without those cannons, he might not hold there. So very well prepared here. A lot of players who go for this style of build would not get those cannons at this level. So very well done. GG is called. And the build we thought would never beat Criminal has beaten Criminal. So well done out of the Archaic there.
You know, this is the game where he didn't actually SCV scout all over the map too. He would have found it. Instead, he relied on the Reaper, and he went to the right before he went to the left. So he found it way too late. And then additionally, he sent these SCVs, but they weren't attacking the pylon. So he could have depowered that pretty easily.
Yeah, I think he could have depowered it, but you do have to run real deep into the Tempest there, and if he clicks the shield batteries
I mean,
onto the pylons...
in the beginning. In the very
super
beginning.
early on. Right.
He had 4 SCVs down there. He had the Reaper. He had plenty of chances to kill it. His Reaper is already shelling that pylon. I think it should have just been dead, so...
Yeah, and like I said, there was a little bit of a delay because he chased the probe down, which is good, but then there was... The Reaper sat there for like 5 to 10 seconds. Which is probably the difference between that pylon going down before the battery gets up and not. So obviously it's a lot to manage there. You know, at the GM level, whenever someone asks me how to beat, you know, cannon rushes, it's like, oh, it's so easy, you know, 2 workers per probe, 4 per building. And it sounds super simple when you say it like that, but it is so not simple to micro that. Yeah,
and
so...
actually I only send 1 per probe and then 4 per building, and then I just kind of just prepare for it to getting up and then getting shield batteries or whatever the case may be. But yeah, you need to practice against that, and he just hates it so much. You can tell he doesn't seem to have too much practice against it. He even went for it. I don't know if he saw the cannons, but if you see the cannons, you can't go for it. You're gonna have to stay back, right? So
yeah, I think so. It's a rough spot for sure. But yeah,
I've lost with that
really
many times.
Yeah, big props to the Archaic though for the cannons. Like I said, that's something you see like out of Max Packs and like those players, but I can't remember the last time I saw, especially in the FSL, which we have seen this build a few times.
Yeah,
players almost never make those cannons. And the big thing with the Protoss' build there is that your DPS is very low. It's pick damage. You know, you go in and you get a little bit and then you leave. So if you don't have those cannons to add that consistent DPS on the defense, it's really easy to break it. So good preparation out of the Archaic, I will say.
Yeah, very good. He stole a game, that's for sure, in my opinion. Let's see if he can take 2 more, because right now I can still have my 3-1 prediction. But so far, so good. Nice job, Archaic, in game 1.
Yeah, and I feel so bad for Criminal. It's like the first time I've seen him not SCV scout it. After that, you know, he's going to be on his deathbed, sending his grandkids around his house looking for pylons. So it's going to be a little unfortunate, but we are loading into 2,000 atmospheres.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
Alrighty, we're here in 2,000 atmospheres LE, the top right-hand side. We do have the blue Terran player. He is
Criminal.
And his opponent in the bottom left, the purple Protoss player, he is
The Archaic.
And I'm actually very impressed with how the Archaic played that game. He's a lot better than I remember. So if he does win this, unfortunately for him, I get to see what he was doing. So does he have 6 strategies against the Terran? That's the question, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I'd say you and Criminal are somewhat similar in that way, where you will go. I mean, I remember the series against Frieden. You'll go to any lengths to stop a cheese. So, even if it's a planetary in the natural. So, that is going to be a hard build to pull off against players like you and him. But he did do it against Criminal. I do wonder if that was really a conscious choice to not scout that game, or if he forgot because, as he said, didn't get the time to warm up today. And it's those little details that really kind of slip, the sending the SCV out and things like that, when you're not warmed up and fully
My
on.
guess.
So.
Here's my guess. I know he said he was afraid and this and that. I think he underestimated the power of how the Archaic has some really good builds. He would do things like that. So I think that's my guess. He didn't scout because he scouted consistently in all the other games, man.
Yeah, it's true. And then I mean, he did scout with the Reaper as well, but
it went the wrong way.
yeah, it just went the wrong way initially, and then I mean, one of the SCVs I think as well wasn't on the pylon because they kind of bunched up a little bit, which good pylon positioning out of the Archaic as well there. I guess, it was in between a mineral and a gas, I think, so you had to manually micro some SCVs around to the backside, which isn't the easiest thing to do. So, does block a probe in, does get the kill on it, which is nice, and he is all-inning, I think, as this is either a command center on, like, the high ground? It is. Okay. Command center on the high ground. And pulls out of the gas, so it's like almost like a fake gas. I guess just enough to really get out a
so
reactor.
He's gonna go. I think he might do 3 racks.
Yeah, it feels like it has to be either 3 racks or like a funky quick third CC.
Oh, that's risky, man. I would not do a third CC against a very aggressive Protoss.
Yeah, that's true. It's almost reminiscent of like a little bit, not much, of Rainer's build that he actually beat Max Pax with as Terran in the EPT Cup a couple weeks back, where he went for like a super quick 3 base. And hey, there you go.
Okay.
You do that. You scare your opponent into being defensive, and then you go super great behind it. So, yeah, I mean, he even kills that probe, and we do see quick shield battery, second pylon on the low ground for the Archaic. I mean, he's already at 46 available supply, so that pylon was a good 2 minutes early. So this is what I was talking about. You force them into being super careful because they see a 1-base Terran with an early gas, and then you pull out a gas, you go quick 3 CC and go into a 3 racks.
Wow.
And I think in the game against Max Pax, the top level, the theory is that this forces them to go into an Oracle, and then you have that reactor production of Marines to defend the Oracle. Obviously, that didn't happen in this game, so I think Blink is a little bit of an unfortunate thing for him to run into here. At the same time, though, 3 racks is decent enough at defending those 3 racks, or not 3 racks, 4-gate Blink builds if the Archaic does decide to get aggressive with it.
Yep.
Lots and obviously,
of bio, especially if he has stem already. Nah.
Yeah, which he's, I think, gonna start up a tech lab, get that going. So I think this build is actually pretty decent for Criminal thus far. I'll have to ask him if he stole this from Rainer, because this looks, obviously, Rainer executed it as perfectly as he could, so it looks a little different. And I don't remember perfectly.
If he did, ET. The reason I say that is because this guy didn't know what Liberators do. So
it's true.
For him to be on point with the latest meta and knowing what Rainer did, I don't even know that, and I try to watch it as much as possible. So.
Right, that's true. I think though that game, it's like, I don't know, it feels like some metas are a little bit easier to find. Like that game, I think was cast by obviously it's Rainer beating a top 3 Protoss and really the world with his off race. So that was plastered over as many front page news sources as there are for StarCraft, which is 0, but also a lot of YouTube channels. So I don't know. All I'm saying is it was very similar. So I'll ask. I doubt it is, but it's kind of cool that even if it is a coincidence, that coincidence happens. Because that was 2 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago. So for him to pull this out so shortly after that is pretty interesting.
It would be pretty cool,
even if it wasn't
especially
intentional.
from a Rainer, because Criminal, his old name was MVP Fanatic. Like he was a big fan of MVP, so he really just followed the Terrans. He didn't really pay too much attention to what you know, a Zerg would be doing even if he played Terran, right? So,
Absolutely. Oh
I
man,
would,
and we were rambling so much about his build. This actually went so well for him because Arcade
oh
didn't
my
go for blink.
gosh,
He went for charge because he was expecting an early attack, and that's
yeah.
against a 3 base. That's way worse to have than blink. Blink had opportunity
Oh
to get
no.
damage. Charge, he is going for storm, so that's good. We need to see a scout out of criminal soon, but I'd say Arcade just figured out what was happening like a few seconds ago. He went in with a hallucination scout. This is a very late scout on this. So
Oh
if
my
he wins,
god.
it's going to be off the back of Criminal having way too many Marines against
This is a lot of Marines
against Storms.
incoming, man.
Yeah, and goodness, how many barracks is that? That's 7 barracks off of 3 bases. So I think maybe a little bit too many barracks. If we see a lot of tech labs on them and a lot of marauders, that'll be nice. Some siege tanks would be great to see as
I
well.
love his
And obviously,
continuous scouting, man. That's one thing about the Archaic.
yeah,
His hallucinated Phoenix, he always scouts recently.
yeah,
Twice, 3 times. Seen him. Great.
he does very well with that. I'm a little sad to see the Robo and second,
Oh!
the second Robo and Robo Bay though, because I was hoping to see a pretty big attack off of these. Oh, for the Archaic. As you got to leverage that storm with all these Marines out, right? As it is now, he's going for third base. He's getting out all this tech. It's going to be really hard to get an attack going. And if you're going for a 3 base this late behind the Terran's third base, that puts you in a pretty bad economic position going into the macro game. So we'll see if he can make it work, though. Obviously,
And
definitely
those
could
shield
make it work.
batteries. This is... We know for sure this is not Cyan playing, right?
Right, yeah, well.
Shout out to
you,
Cyan. That's right.
Yeah, definitely not Cyan thus far, at least. And a good pickup by Criminal. He's going to go for a double drop in the main base, and without Blink once again. Although maybe he researched it, did not research Blink. His army's a little bit more inflexible for defending those drops, so
Yeah.
a little bit more opportunity
He
for
does
Criminal.
have a couple there, and he has an observer on the left. So.
That's very true. Hopefully he'll be able to defend that. Obviously Archaic is not in a terrible spot, but I do think Criminal's in a pretty decent spot. He's even going into those ghosts. Obviously we saw in his previous games that the EMPs weren't quite on target, so Storms did still get off, but he was, pushing up into a ramp, I believe, whenever he was trying to use EMPs in those previous games. Whereas 2K Atmospheres, you don't really have that ramp into the third base. Yeah, he's going in. Is dropping out his units, stems on top of the stalkers, and there's a Colossus here, so that'll be able to help take care of this pretty easily. Oh, he's going to try and target down the storm. You can see what Criminal is worried about in this game, and it is purely storm.
That's great.
But
This
the
game
Archaic
is
already
getting better,
flipping around.
man.
It is. This is
Archaic.
it definitely is. At the same time, though, down 30 supply is a lot of supply to be down in TVP.
Yep.
And the upgrades for Criminal are going to be massive here as well. We're just seeing the Forge go down for the Archaic against 1-1 is finishing up shortly for Criminal. At the same time, though, we got to be careful, or Criminal's got to be careful, not to bleed too many units off. You're already in a pretty good position. But getting the scout on the Colossus in such a low committal way, right? You're not losing a whole army when you find out they have Colossus and Storm. You're losing a few Marines. So hopefully we'll see maybe even a second starport and get at least some Viking production going, even if not a second starport. Another army trying to come into the third base. Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's an aggro player. He's fast, and he's looking to deal some damage. Wait, did he? I think he hit an EMP on the High Templar. They're being morphed into an Archon. I think they had like 2 storms each. No, okay, never mind. It was a new High Templar. Okay, that's good. That's good. I saw a unit go in there, and then I saw an Archon morphing. We'll see. He does get an EMP on the Archons, but not on the High Templar. No storm as well. Really late reaction.
Man.
Oh, I think he's maybe trying to double drop somewhere else. I don't know. That was such a slow reaction out of Criminal there. Very unfortunate there. So good storms out of the Archaic, and now sort of defaulting. Criminal's kind of defaulting here. He's just producing just Marines. Okay, adjust it. He's making 3 Marauders now. That's good. And obviously now there are ghosts out, and the Archons will kind of melt against those if they get chased down. He's recalling Criminal. Target down the weak Archons. Oh no. Oh my gosh, those.
Archaic, man. He's lost one Colossus already. He's gonna get.
Yeah, he's gonna lose 2 more. Gives him away.
Not microing. He usually micros a lot better than this. He lost the first Colossus.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's a hectic game on both sides. They're both really stretching their limits with their APM, both trying to get, multi-pronged harassment done. And oh no! That rally is so painful. Oh, man, I mean, it's still a better position for the Archaic than it was 3 or 4 minutes ago, I think. As, Criminal, he's still only on 3 base. Did not add on a 4th CC, I don't believe.
But
Yeah,
imagine
no
if he had
4th
4
center.
Colossi, man. He can win this game.
It's true. It's true. I think he'd be in a dominant position after that storm. Which again, I gotta wonder where Criminal's camera was. Obviously, it was there like just seconds before because he was throwing EMPs. But then he just kind of looked away. I mean, you could be pre-splitting there, or even stemming your Marines as the Zealots get on top and already started stepping back. But every time it misses, though. Oh, it's so unfortunate. Does he not have enhanced shockwaves? He doesn't. That might be the difference between that EMP landing. It was like right on the edge. He's going too heavily into the Marine production, I think.
Oh my
Still does catch a lot of the Zealots on the front, but yeah, I think the Archaics just got the better handle on a macro game here. And the difference between this series and the series against Cyan that we're really seeing is Criminal's not getting damage done. He had a good economy here, but he still had a much bigger advantage against Cyan because he's killing 30 probes. Sure, his economy's not as big, but Cyan's was, really, really damaged. And in this game, even if you have a better economy than your opponent, it's not enough of a difference to still put him in that same kind of super commanding position where you can just eat storms and win. Yeah, I think you got to be frustrated after this game, though. I mean, your 3rd CC build goes off without a hitch.
Well, the other thing is, the Protoss gave you 4 Colossi. You should be winning this game, but he's been throwing away units, like we've seen, right? So.
Yeah, throwing away units and just not hitting the EMPs. They're hard to hit, and obviously was not able to hit them. And that's got to be pretty frustrating. And yeah, I mean, your 3rd CC build goes off without a hitch. Sure, you take a bad storm, but then you kill 4 Colossi for free. You're definitely feeling pretty good, but then, more storms, more Colossi, and can't hit those EMPs. But I think part of that is you got to have that enhanced shockwaves. GG's going to be called, though.
There you go. I don't have a chance to be right with my prediction anymore. But you might be wrong, only because he might 3-0 here.
That's true. All aboard the ET train. Choo-choo. Let's go.
That is some great play, man, by the Archaic. Actually, now I'm kind of scared if I play him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good stuff. I mean, we saw him win in both situations, right? I mean, he goes for a heavy all-in game 1, wins with that, and then he goes into a macro game behind, I gotta say. I mean, you get 3 CC off that early as Terran, and the 3rd base of the Archaics that late, you're definitely ahead as Terran, and he still wins it. So, I mean, he's definitely looking poised for a 3-0 with those performances, but Criminal also hasn't pulled out the builds we've seen that have caused his success throughout this season, right?
Yeah.
The extra proxy barracks and I mean, even the Hellion drops and the Mine drops, we haven't seen those super strong builds out of Criminal yet. So we'll see if he goes for those, and we'll see. I mean, maybe the Archaic's even able to defend those, but definitely looking good so far.
Yeah, we can see that Criminal is not playing well. He was forcing the drops. He missed the EMPs. He had a nice lead. He got 4 free Colossi. Right, so there's a lot of reasons there that he should have won that game many times over, but...
Right, and it feels like he really, I don't know, he seems very hesitant to make tanks or mines, and those are a big part of those battles. Even if you do deny the storm, Zealots and Archons shred bio without something like Vikings or tanks or Widow Mines, so... We'll see. We'll see if he manages to turn it around, but looking good for the Archaic so far.
Yeah.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
All right, we're loading into the right side of Blackburn LE. We've got our purple Protoss player. He's up 2-0. He is
The Archaic.
His opponent, the bottom left-hand side, the blue Terran player. He is
Criminal.
All right, criminal better wake up because he is not playing well. He's not lying.
Yeah, I mean, so definitely the EMPs, you know, and I think he tried to force the drops a little bit, but he was pretty good about getting them out. I think at the end of the day, it's just he's not the kind of player who plays big macro games against Protoss, at least not that we've seen thus far in the season. He's very aggressive. He's 1 base all in, 2 base all in. And so he's trying to push himself to new limits, and sometimes that pays off, and sometimes it doesn't pay off as well, and you wind up having an 0-2 deficit already. Obviously, I don't think game 1 really had too much to do with things, but if you're trying to do a proxy Stargate and your opponent is like 2 or 3 racks all inning you, I think that's a pretty good, pretty good position for you as the Terran player.
Yeah.
So the lack of the super aggression out of Criminal has not worked out too well. Oh, and he's going to go for it again. This is a very good map for the proxy Stargate, specifically for this position.
Well, let's see. He is scouting with the SCV for 1. And he's making a Marine. Oh, he's going to do it this way. Okay. Oh, man.
That's
If
decent,
this
but
gets out.
Oh, no. Yeah, because he's not going for a Reaper. I was going to say that's much easier to scout, but he's not making a Reaper, and his SCV's rallied back to his main base. So
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Criminal doesn't look like these are the most obvious spots for proxies on this map, you know?
Oh, my gosh, Spider-Man. What did he say? The best place to hide is the most obvious place?
Right, yeah, something along those lines. I can't remember the exact quote. Best place to hide is in plain sight or something, I think.
Yes.
But, oh man, yeah, Proxy Stargate's gonna make it down,
Oh,
and
no.
he's trying to go for a Hellion build. Oh no, so he gets the early Marine because it's able to deny probe scouts
my
better than the Reaper.
goodness.
Yeah, so I think he gets that early Marine because it denies probe scouts better than the Reaper, right, earlier on. So it makes it harder for them to see this reactor and see that there's a factory coming.
Oh man.
For the Hellions, but Hellions are going to be the most helpful when they have a high ground wall off, so it's 1 unit and it's blocked, and they got a Stargate on your side of the map. If we see Hellions start to come out here, that's going to be really bad for him. Did we get a scout out of Criminal on the other side of the map? No, he's completely blind. He wasn't aware about the somewhat late Nexus. Criminal's not playing like Criminal, I gotta say. You're right. At this point.
This is Criminal.
This is
okay. The good
and
news
he's
for
swapping it over.
Archaic. Let's see what he makes. He makes mines, maybe. Then he has oh man.
Yeah, I think he makes Hellions. Yep. And if those 2 Hellions pop out and then the Void Ray comes in, or even if they're just halfway done, I mean, that's so much build time on your factory. You're gonna have to swap it back over to a tech lab. He's making a tech lab. He's gonna try and go to like an early stem, I think, swap or something. This is super over, I think.
Other side. No vision on the other side whatsoever, and he finally is sending the SCV, but by that time, it's too late, guys.
Yeah, 2 Hellions already out, and the first Void Ray is coming across.
Let's see his face once he hears this Void Ray
shooting at him. Look at his face.
No.
He did not scout.
Oh boy, and he's gonna be supply blocked now.
He still has his smile.
He's got 3 Hellions and 3 Marines, and he's supply blocked. 1 more Marine on the way. He is making a Viking, but I mean, the one thing is the Archaic's not going for the kill as quick as possible. He's going back into his Tempest thing again, so that does give Criminal a little bit of time to maybe stabilize, although he's just bleeding units right now.
Supply block, he realizes it. He finally does drop the
Tempest's already on the way, though. That Viking is out, so can kite
and he's
the
getting
Void Ray.
close. He needs to stay back.
Yeah, but now once the Void Ray's locked onto that...
Oh, he's not microing. Oh my gosh, too many mistakes on him.
Yeah, I mean, the mine should be able to push the Void Ray back for at least a moment, but then the Tempest come in, and he's got a second Stargate on the way. I mean, the Hellions are denying the natural base of the Archaic, which is good. He's only on 23 workers. Is there a unit in the wall off on the high ground there for the Archaic? I'm not actually sure. If there is, then it should... Okay, he's just fully walled. Okay. Yeah, even gets a cannon. He's got his forge down as well, and the factory's gonna have to float all the way to the back just to start making a tech lab to make those cyclones eventually.
The optimistic thing here is he's had practice against this. The other thing is he pulled his structures back, and these 2 mines can't kill the Void Ray.
That is true. Oh, he's trying to draw him into it. Will the Archaic fall for it? Does a little bit. Oh, but now there's a reveal, and so those mines are dead. Great play out of the Archaic, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Just instantly getting those oracles
And
every time he
Criminal
did
a little
fine.
slow here. When this was revealed, he should have sent it back, but he's just playing way too slow.
Yeah,
this
he's trying to
game.
go into double star port. He does have another one in the back of the net, but
He's not even repairing here. So
and neither of
not
them have
sure about-
reactors, so you basically spent you got a glorified 150 mineral 100 gas reactor by building
Yeah.
that second starport. Unfortunately, he's trying, I think, to
Yeah,
just get out a
it's-
couple Vikings, push him back, and then maybe get the reactors. But I don't think he's going to be able to do it. And I mean, those 3 Marines as well. We're talking about just not microing things. There's 3 Marines in that bunker that have been there this whole time.
Yep.
And just let that
only one
Voider run rampant.
Exactly, it's just one Void Ray and one Tempest. He was doable, and he needs to back off here, but he's still shooting.
Yeah.
So these are the things.
Yeah, even just click
all
like, you
add
can-
up.
Yeah, I think even if you click back the one, click back the injured Viking, repair it, and keep shooting with the other 2. Drain the battery energy. We did see the biggest mistake, I think, that we saw out of the Archaic was he was very slow to add on extra batteries, and we're seeing that again. He's almost out of energy already. And if he had even one reactor on these starports and was pumping, but he's got double Cyclone on the way. He's just going for too much, don't you feel? I mean, double factory and double starport.
The problem is, I don't think he has a specific plan. He's just kind of making one of everything, like you said. But
yeah,
I'd be more concerned about doing one thing, microing properly.
Yeah, I mean, there goes all the energy on the batteries, and this is what I was saying is the Archaic's slow to make extra batteries. You don't have full energy because there's no Nexus. If he just made nothing but like 3 Vikings at a time, I think he holds this super easily because the Archaic's so slow to add those batteries. And even now, he's up 20 supply now. So in what should have been a super over game, it's not 5 Vikings and 2 Cyclones, another Cyclone on the way, 2 more Vikings against 2 Tempests. He's struggling to make more. I mean, those Hellions denied the mining on that natural base for so long. They even killed a couple probes, I think. So not many, but every little bit helps. And now the Oracle's gone as well. That's that Oracle tax. Once you get out a certain number of Vikings, they pretty much are always going to get a volley off on the Oracle when it goes for Revelation, even if you're not microwaving.
Did he throw this game? I think he threw it a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, just now adding on. I mean, it's funny. What should have been really bad with those the Hellions turned out to be really good. But at the same time, I feel like the Archaic didn't really react to it as quickly as he should have. He had a stalker out, but he brought it over here. The Archaic has really good builds, but he's a little static on the builds, I feel, right? Like, the stalker's supposed to go across the map. It went across the map, and he didn't bring it home to defend those Hellions.
This is risky, man. He's sending everything to go attack on the other side.
I think he's got to feel like he's way behind, even though he's not. It's hard to know, right? Because you
look,
feel...
this is funny. He even has a SCV here, which he can put a
he's
turret here.
That's hilarious that he's building a depot. Oh man, it's a good thing that the Archaic broke his own wall off that he made, because if that was not broken here, those probes would not be able to run.
The Archaic may not be. Now he realizes it because he was getting attacked at the same time.
14 probes though, and I mean he can even kill the fleet beacon, which means no more Tempest, which means Void Rays against already 6 Cyclones and double Cyclone. That's not going to go very well for you. Yeah, I mean that's going to go down, which means he's only going to be able to make Void Rays until he remakes it. This is a crazy comeback. When we were talking about frustration from the previous game, I feel like you got to be frustrated as the Archaic here in this game.
Oh man.
So the turntables a little bit, and now there's no mining.
Yes, I think. Well, ET. You know what happened in several games. We've seen many games. I mean, in other sports where you're on the brink of winning that one clinching game and you lose, and then the other team comes back, and then this happens. So, remember, Criminal was the favorite here. So it's not inconceivable for him to do a reverse sweep.
It's not. Holy cow.
Okay, well, we got a series. On the verge of a 3-0, man.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I mentioned this. Archaic's a little too, I think, static with his build sometimes. It's good in a way, because his builds are almost always very clean, but he went a little bit too static there. He didn't keep the Stalker at home once he saw those Hellions, and he went for his Tempest build. You see that there's nothing there in the main base with that first Void Ray. You should be chronoing Void Rays out of your one Stargate and just go, right? And I think if he does that,
your Void Ray's rampant. You might as well get a second Void Ray.
Yeah, instead, he only gets the one Void Ray just like game 1, and he holds back and builds his Tempest again. If you just maybe even drop a second Stargate instead of that Fleet Beacon, you just pump Void Rays, I think he wins the game because he
Yes.
let up on. He had the tempo, and then he kind of let up on that. Still though, it's an easy mistake to make, and like I said, it's a double-edged sword, right? His builds are very clean, and he sticks to them to a T. But his builds are very clean, and he sticks to them to a T. So if something happens and he should adjust, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't flex to it, and sometimes that winds up biting him.
Yeah, I haven't seen a comeback like that in a while. So, but that avoids a monster upset of 3-0, right? So we're back to a real series now. And does that wake up Criminal? That's dangerous, man. You just woke up and you gave your opponent new life. There is no way he's not gonna scout properly for a Void Ray cheese in games 4 and 5 if we get a 5.
It's very true, and you know he talked a little bit about like hopefully he's nice in the first few games so I can get warmed up.
Nope.
I mean, he wasn't very nice, but this is now he's warmed up. He's managed to make it to game 4, so should be at least a little bit more warmed up than he was going into the match. Quite a bit more warmed up, even with 3 games under his belt. So we'll see, and that's got to be a pretty nice feeling to come back when you went for 3 or 4 Hellions against a Void Ray all in. Gotta feel pretty all right with that.
What a comeback. And this finals for Code A has been a treat.
Yeah, it's been very good. And not too one-sided. I never like to see 3-0s if we can help it.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to get to that game 4 or hopefully even game 5.
Yeah. Well, if you're the Archaic, you got to finish him off here. You can't go into game 5 because that means Criminal is definitely warmed up. And you may be out of builds.
It's true. It's true. At the same time, well, we got to see. I think the Criminal's going to have to pull out some aggression in order to win, even if the Archaic isn't all-inning him, because we saw in that macro game, the Archaic's just a little bit stronger. But anyways, we are loading in. It's the bottom left-hand side. We got the purple Protoss player. He is
The Archaic.
And his opponent playing red now. It's the Terran player. He is
Red for blood. He's out for blood, man. Been slapped the first 2 games. He was almost slapped the 3rd game. Is he awake? I think he is. At least one eye, right?
Yeah, at least one eye.
Well, I mean, he did, it was also just the Archaic kind of bungling that too, so.
Yeah, like I said, you gotta be a little more flexible with it sometimes. You gotta have, they call it the killer instinct at the top level, right?
Yeah.
You see such little defense there, you gotta go for the kill. And at the same time, I mean, I think the Void Ray could have easily, killed a lot more SCVs than it did, got a lot more done. I think he even allowed himself to kind of be pushed back by a single, or, the 2 Widow Mines, but the Void Ray can kind of run circles around the Widow Mines all day, and then you're keeping the Terran player busy microing the Widow Mines.
Yep.
So they're not macroing, and you're probably killing SCVs here and there, but, it's not the end of the world. He still has a good chance here. We'll see what Criminal opts for, though. I think the onus now is really on him. Is he going to be able to bring out some stuff that gets damage done on the other side of the map instead?
Yeah.
So we do see that same thing. He's going to try and deny the scout with the Marine. Don't think we'll see the same 3CC build again. That's really tough to pull off. That's the kind of build you have a hard time pulling off twice in a series, because once it's in their mind, and if they scout for it, I mean, if the Archaic had just gone like pretty heavily all in, it would have been a very tough hold.
And even then, he didn't look good in a long game. So
Yeah,
I don't want him to try to do that. He needs to do something aggressive off 2 base.
Yeah, he is expanding, but he's continuing to mine gas this time around instead of pulling out and going for that quick 3rd CC. And there's the factory very quickly. And I think we're going to see a Hellion build, maybe a mine drop paired with it, like we saw against Cyan a lot. But it's going to be something a little more aggressive than game 2. Yeah.
Well, he scouted normal build here, so not a big rush to check for proxy Void Rays. So.
Yeah, he didn't even bother. He's like, I don't even need to scout it, apparently, so I'm not...
Yeah. And that's another thing, right? If you don't want to scout all over the map, just scout the opponent, count the probes, see the gas mining, and then you don't have to bother. You can kind of eliminate certain possibilities.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true indeed. Oh, and I guess I should even say, I guess in game 2 or game 3 there, it's not just that the Hellions deny the mining. They forced a shield battery, maybe 2, and a cannon at home. That's like 400 minerals. So Tempest might have been delayed. Maybe that's why he doesn't make the batteries quite as quick. Stuff like that. So the Hellions got so much damage just because the Stalker didn't react, right? So
Yeah, we made fun of the Hellions when they first came out. They're like, that's useless, but it ended up being possibly the reason.
yeah, absolutely. Because I think without that, even with the Archaic playing a little more statically, I think he still just has such an advantage there. Because his mining's up a lot earlier. His second Stargate production gets out way faster. He probably has an extra 2 Tempests when that fight happens. But anyways, that didn't happen. And now we're here in game 4. It's a Twilight Council build once again out of the Archaic. But it is going to be that mine drop with the Hellions as well. But I think the Hellions maybe going to go in a little bit earlier than they did in previous games.
This is
Perhaps
dangerous,
a Daigen.
man. 4 Hellions. Let's see.
Yeah, he's poking in. The Archaic, oh my gosh, he like moved the Stalker but hadn't actually seen the Hellions. He can warp in on that ramp as well, so he'll be able to deny the Hellions making up into the main base. I say
good force
apparently
field.
Wrong. Good force field though, barely. Oh, they almost were able to sneak past that. Still, 6 probes, not the best, especially because there's now going to be a mine drop coming in later. Instead of at the same time like we saw before, and that's really what allowed, I think, Criminal to get those 20 30 probe kill cams going up on his series against Cyan. Still though, there's a lot of chance here. The Archaic was pretty slow in his reaction to that, I gotta say. It was after you get the little your SCVs or your probes are under attack alert, I think, is when he actually really saw it, which with Widow Mines really doesn't work. So you've got to see it coming. Charge is on the way. I think that's a fine choice. I don't see any particular issues with that as the Robo Facility comes in as well. And again, we see no boost as he comes into that main base. World's slowest. Will he target these mines at least? 3 probes for 2 mines is not great, but we'll be able to load them up maybe. When now the Archaic pulls. Oh my gosh. Speaking of slow reactions.
All right.
Definitely a little slow there. Is there? No, yeah, okay, there's not even an armory up.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't pick up the mine. He picked up 1. He had plenty of time for it, so.
It definitely felt like he's playing as if he has an armory when he definitely doesn't. He's like, let me just get them in each base, then you're never going to be able to mine again. And then it's like, oh wait, you can actually just see them, so it's fine. But the Archaic doesn't actually pull his probes back up properly, so they're not mining just yet. A little unfortunately. I think he finally did fix them. Yeah, they were kind of just all sitting there. Still though, this is a lot less damage than Cyan took. And Cyan was able to make it look pretty close, right? So
he lost 20 workers or something.
Right. I think that was, 9 in total between the Hellions and the mines. It was slightly less committal, though. It was a 4 mine drop and like 6 or 8 Hellions, I think. As opposed to 4 and 2. So, less committal. We do see a quick Templar Archives coming down, but a 3rd base out of Criminal. And that makes me worry, I mean... with the damage he got, is he really that far? I don't think he's any more up in workers than he was with the 3cc build, right?
Nope.
And he's not really up in tech compared to the 3cc build. It's pretty much the same spot. So he's got to execute better, basically. He didn't get himself an advantage he hasn't had before. He's just got to utilize that advantage better than he was able to in the previous games. Now, that said, he's coming across the map, but this is not a push that does very well against Charge. And Charge is already well out. He's getting a cannon in the main base just to protect if that mine comes back in. Still, though, he is up 15 supply, but I just don't know that this is going to go very well. Storm already on the way. He's going for 3rd base as well. Guess maybe if those are Hellbats, it's okay, but you should be able to kite them with the Stalkers. You have stim. We have combat shields.
No, he's gonna.
Oh, he's going to go drop in the main base with it. I like that, but now these Marines are going to get definitely caught. Still, there's a cannon in the main base, so he's going to have to target fire pretty well. Does make it out, so not too bad. I don't think he saw the Hellions at any point, but he does have an observer there to spot. So good discipline again out of the Archaic. He's got the spotters in play. I mean, a lot of times, even the Code S, we see people completely forget to have the depots or the pylons, the observers out and looking.
There's
yeah, here it comes.
a little slow
the
here on the
Hellions
targeting.
Yeah, very slow. Loses a Hellion, and one Hellion still on targeting. 2 is not enough to one-shot probes. He needs that third, but it's just sitting there shooting the cannon.
Oh, wow.
So instead it will go
Just
down.
2.
Barely does not get the medevac. Yeah, does not get the medevac. It does boost out. And he's being very careful against those drops. He knows the criminal likes them. At the same time, though, I don't know that I like that much. I mean, I'm pretty sure all those cannons and shield batteries are the difference between him being even on supply right now and down 30.
That is a lot. Yeah, 4 cannons is a lot. I'm okay with 1 cannon and a shield battery, but, you know, Criminal's not going to doom drop you right this minute.
Yeah, and Criminal's Hellion saw that, so he's well aware that he should not be dropping there, right? But he can just drop like on the main ramp where there's still plenty of tech completely exposed, not protected at all by those cannons. So yeah, I think that's a little bit overkill. And now a big push coming out. How many tanks does he have with it? Oh, he went double factory. I do like that build against what we've seen from the arcade. Obviously, this is it's gonna be a lot of splash damage. But double factory, you got to be careful. It's a build that scales over time. It's not that great this early on. That said, the Archaic's macro has not been the cleanest, especially with 4 cannons and 2 shield batteries.
ET, look at that supply of army, man. It's insanity.
Yeah, it's true.
He needs to hit the perfect storms, and
right.
He doesn't have storm. Oh man,
he does. Those
okay,
4.
well, why did he? Okay, I see.
He had 2 other, and those have 2 storms each. That's 4 storms.
Okay, this is it.
Well, maybe. Criminal is deciding right now if it's it. So we're just waiting.
2 more tanks, man. If he pulls this off, I mean, this is really it. This can decide the finals.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like this composition out of Criminal, but like I said, this build, I mean, it may win here just because of the super heavy commitment the Archaic went with into the main base on defending against drops. But in theory, this build is one that you should wait with and not go directly in like he has done here.
He didn't do it right.
Big storms. Not big enough, though. He needs to storm again.
Man.
The Marines have clumped up now, and he's not shooting that storm. I think Criminal's done it.
Yes, he's done it, man. And I'm going to call it. The reason I say that, this is Snowball. This is just an 8 move almost, right?
Yeah, with
17
the tanks.
supply. Actually 36 now with the new warpins.
Yeah, and I mean, if we really look at it, right, he's got a 3rd base going down already. He drops 3 more cannons and 2 shield batteries.
Yeah,
that's the difference between having your 10 gateways you should have to be able to spend all this money that the Archaic's got and not.
Yeah.
So those cannons completely killed him here.
Yeah, you're probably right there.
I'm all for, play into your weaknesses. I talk about this in the 2v2s, teams that aren't great against that multi-prong get static defense. That's later on into the game, and that's when you are bad at it. The Archaic shut down the drops in the previous games, right? So there was really no reason to think he needed it here. Still, storms are big. He's been doing a good job of thinning out that siege tank count, and it's pure Marine still. He's not making many Marauders, so the Archaic's composition is decent against what he's going up against here. Thermal Lance is not out yet, but it is double Colossus. There are a lot of Vikings, but shield battery overcharge, do we see it?
Storm.
We do see shield battery overcharge, but I think he's going to be able to push through just barely. And yeah, I mean, 150 supply to 60.
We're going to get a game 5.
Game 5 is here, man. And I don't know, like I said, it's like you didn't do a bad job of cleaning up those drops. So
yeah, you're right.
I mean, the drops did very little out of Criminal in game 2, so I don't know why he felt the need.
Maybe he felt like he was quite ahead that he can throw money like that. I'm not sure. We're
Maybe.
gonna have to ask him.
Yeah. Just being very safe. And, if you have 4 base, 80 probes, you already have your 14 gateways, sure. 3 cannons in the main base. I don't care. That's fine. It's a lot of commitment that early on, Each cannon could be a gateway there. The 2 shield batteries could be a gateway plus a bit. That's your extra production that you needed there. Instead, he was only on 4 gates, and we saw he was floating almost 1600. Another 16 zealots there with those extra gateways. That could have been the difference in that first fight, very easily. So, and you can see, I think the Archaic's getting a little worried with each passing game, and we might see the reverse sweep.
It's possible. I mean, Criminal was the favored, in my opinion, here. He started off pretty asleep the first 2 games, right? He made so many critical. I'm not trying to say the Archaic didn't play well. He played really well, but Criminal was not Criminal.
Yeah, it's true. What I'd say with game 4, though, that sort of worries me is that I don't feel like Criminal won that game. I feel like the Archaic lost it. When you
Yeah.
go for that double factory style, he really kind of hit before it even really does anything, right? The double factory style is like so you can have 20 siege tanks, not 5 siege tanks or 3 siege tanks. If the Archaic doesn't get those cannons and he gets that 10 gate set up and he's got those warpins going, I don't think that push works.
Yes.
But it did because he did do that. We'll see if the Archaic does adjust to that. Getting that production up is so important, though.
All right. Well, the question is, will there be a cheat?
You are watching
Game 5 for all the marbles.
All the marbles indeed. Who gets to go to the Code S to face off against Freedom immediately after this? In the top left-hand side, tying the series up 2-2. Can he make the reverse sweep? He is.
Criminal.
And in the bottom right, the purple Protoss player. Can he clean it out, or will he fall? He is.
All right, boys and girls, this is. Whew, I have no idea what's gonna happen. You know, I'm hoping for a good showing for the Archaic because he did kind of bungle that. At the same time, I also want a good showing for Criminal, so that way we don't have a game that's decided by some unfortunate missteps, right?
Right, absolutely. I do think that composition he was going for is good to kind of adjust for what he was doing. He's like, okay, the EMPs aren't working. Let's just get so many tanks that they can't get close enough to my bio to storm anyways.
Yes.
So I think that's a good choice. I think he should go for that composition if it gets into a macro game. It may not work to do a push like that with it, but it's still a good compositional choice. I did like that choice. So we'll see what he opts for here. Does not get walled out this time. They're walled in.
Ooh.
So
Still does the spray, man. That's a good sign. He's not too what do you call that? Flustered. He's like, I'm still gonna do the fun stuff.
I mean, the Archaic, I would say, is a bit of a seasoned veteran when it comes to the FSL. He's played a lot of these. Obviously, he's playing in the 2v2s as well. Oh, but an engineering bay block. Did he not see that? He did see that. He's just not reacting to it. That's no good. That's no bueno.
It's too late now. He's just gonna have to rely on his Zealot to do it.
I see. So he actually is reacting to it. You gotta pull probes though against it. I think.
Yeah, it's too late by now. I think he's like, forget it.
Yeah, now it's just the Zealot instead that he opts for. It will do the job, but Criminal's not expanding, and he's getting in the factory pretty quickly before any expansions even being dreamt of. I think we're going to see very fast Hellions out of him here, potentially.
And there it is, the scout. He's like, I'm not losing game 5.
to the Void Rays.
Something.
Very nice. Man, the Archaic, though, what's he going to opt for here? He did a pretty good job against the Hellions last time, but these are going to be a lot faster this time around. He is chronoming probes. He's getting the Twilight Council.
No, he hasn't pulled the DT.
He hasn't. And, I mean, Criminal, his scouting has not really been a thing, right? He doesn't go for much scouting. At least earlier on into the game.
Either, so.
Right, so DTs could have potential here. At the same time, though, if you're going for DTs and then your opponent hits you with the good old Hellions, although he's making Marines, he's not making Hellions out of that factory. That's a little odd. Okay, he's trying to go into, just really fast tanks. I guess he was maybe worried about, maybe he figures he's Void Ray cheesed me every other game thus far, so he's going to do it again or something. So he gets that super fast so he can get the Cyclone, maybe? And now he's just going into tanks instead.
Well, he scouted, so he didn't see the Void Ray here. So.
Right, so he goes for the tank instead of the Cyclone, obviously, because that's a bit more helpful. Does try and get the Scout, does not see it, but it is just charge. It's not DTs, so not the end of the world. Need to see a Scout out of the Archaic here in the near future as well, though. But adding on a couple more gateways, he's going up to 4, so he's going to have good production off of his 2-base setup. And I think this is going to be a really quick tank push, right? I mean, you kind of got to leverage tanks this early on.
Already
late CC, and it's going to be world's fastest charge against that, which is pretty good against those early tank builds we've seen in the past.
Yeah, this is good for the Archaic. This is really good if he keeps making charge slots.
Yeah,
can
and I think we're
crush
going to see a
this.
hallucination scout soon.
Oh.
And once you see a tank already out and, you know, a tech lab factory, no
This is what he
stem
says.
being researched
Come on
just yet.
over.
I mean, at the same time, it could just be macroing out, maybe, but it feels like a big commitment to tank that early on, although he's not making more, so
Oh,
maybe
he
not.
stopped.
I think
Huh.
maybe he was just worried about some sort of aggression. I don't know,
Yeah,
a
that's
little
true. Entirely
odd.
true. Sometimes we overanalyze it, but it might be as simple as, look, I don't want to die to something.
It's true, but at the same time now, he's still not making stem. He's making Marines out of his barracks. But he's adding on a tech lab, so maybe he's going to swap that tech lab over with his starport to a barracks instead, so we can get stem. We need to see stem soon, or else he's kind of gonna all in, whether or not he intended
He's
to.
got a
you know?
drop coming, man.
Yeah, drops coming in. There's stalkers in position, though. It's only 8 Marines, and they're not going to have stem, as it's still not even researching. It's a Raven, so he is kind of worried about those DTs, maybe. The stalkers get some good
dropped it
initial poke
anyway.
damage. Yeah, it does drop in anyways. But I mean, 4 zealots could warp in. The zealots are running up into the main base, and that Medevac's already a little low. Does he have boost? He doesn't have boost available. Oh man, but does just barely get boost in time. Makes it out with only 14 HP. I believe that is just one stalker shot. I think they do 15 maybe.
Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah.
does make it out though. Only loses 2 Marines. Doesn't really get any damage done though. And yeah, I think we're going to see a tank push. He's still just making Marines and Ravens. This tank push though with the
Storm coming.
Ravens, yeah, he's playing it as if he's going into Colossus, right? With that Raven. I mean, the Raven will still help with anti-armor
Okay.
missile, but if there's Storm out, this gets shut down hard. Stemless Marines against Charge Lot Storm.
Well, he has to hit it. He has to micro this properly. This is his life on the line. Both of them
It's
are actually.
Very
so.
true. Did we get a hallucination scout? We did, but I guess it was a little too early on to know what was going on because Criminal did delay those tanks. I gotta wonder though, you can have like 5 tanks here with that delay on the build time, right? That he had. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
He
not sure
knows
how
he's
that
gonna
goes
go
for you.
for-
Okay, so there's a High Templar out. He does have out a few Zealots. Siege up is pretty far back, and he can cancel that third. Okay, so he does cancel it. He's adding on 2 more gateways, so he is going up to 6 gates. That's going to be a lot
the
of Zealot
tanks are
production, which is
sieged
nice.
Now, though, they need to get going. Oh,
They are, but he's kind of just waiting for that Storm opportunity, because once those Marines are cleared out by the Storm, if there's nothing to cover the tanks against charge lots, okay, so 1 tank goes down, most of the Marines go down. You can't just push in here. Like, sure, he has no units, the Archaic, but you don't have stem, so it's not like you can go, he has no units, and stem in. You can slowly kind of walk in.
oh no, there's a Banshee.
But there's no
man.
F2. Yeah, there's a Banshee, there's no F2. I mean, he has 3 Stalkers in the main base. He's just not F2ing those, right?
Yeah, he
He
needs them
didn't
there.
get a shield battery, I don't think, in the natural base. No Immortal
Just
as
do or
well.
die. You gotta go down there. You can't get this canceled. It's game over.
Yeah,
Oh,
and at the
he's
same
gonna-
time,
he's giving it up.
no pylons on the way. He's super supply locked. I think the Archaic's dead. 1,000 gas? You could have 6 more High Templar here, you know? Blanket Storms, have 2 Archons and a couple Storms still. I mean, there's just so many options he could have gone for, but instead he's super supply locked. He loses his natural. He does still have 9 more workers than his opponent, and his tech is unmatched and will be unmatched for a long time. So technically, a 1 base hold can still work. If he had a probe out on the map, though, to hide a base, similar to how Neutrophil did against you, actually, and
Yep.
the Code S series, that would have been huge, but does not have that opportunity. And I don't know why he's not warping in more Storm. It's not like your opponent has a counter to it now. So it's like,
Yeah, I
oh,
think
can't
he's
Storm now.
tilting
It's
at
like,
this point.
yeah, I think he's just not sure what to do. It's rough with the tanks. If he gets out, maybe just Chrono out a War Prism, right? And then get some Zealots on the back end. No, he's trying to get into a Colossus. I think a War Prism to just put Zealots behind would be good here. You know, bring
Yeah.
4, warp in 6 more. You got 10 Zealots on the flank. A Storm coming in the front would be good, but not making those shield batteries in the back of the natural was painful. I mean, if you can get out of Colossus, it's decent enough, but a good position here for Criminal, and I think he's going to be able to close it out. And
Yeah, 2 Banshees. Too.
feels rough for the Archaic. I mean, he had exactly what he needed to win this game, but just he didn't have 2, so he doesn't have his full army. Doesn't warp in more Storm. I mean, he's still floating 1,000 gas. He can have another 3 High Templar, and I'm not sure why he doesn't. I mean, I think he's still nearly got 2 Storms on this
Here's
1 High
the
Templar.
Storm.
Is- Oh, big Storm. Okay.
Beautiful. That's as good a storm as you
Massive
can get.
Storm. That might be enough to break out. Holy cow. I mean, I'd never in a million years could have pictured that
Wow.
much damage happening.
The problem is the Banshees.
It's true. He does have those Banshees still, and the Stalkers, I guess, did die. Indeed, they did. And slow Warpins as well. He does manage to get the feedback, but GG.
So close to a 3-0, but
So close. And I mean, even there, it felt like it was going to be a 3-2 in the opposite direction. But GG's by Criminal. Good tank pushes there in those last two games. And we'll go ahead and undeafen, unmute our players here in a moment. And we'll be able to talk to him here. So, congratulations to Criminal. Archaic, unfortunately, not quite able to close it out there with the 3-0, and you do wind up getting reversed there. Uno reverse card pulled out. Game 1 and 2 obviously went very well. KJ and Ed actually talked on Wednesday about how it was basically impossible to beat Criminal with a proxy Void Ray or a proxy Stargate, and yet you did it. So very well done there. A well-prepared build. You executed it very cleanly. Game 2, I think the super fast 3cc went unscouted for a little while, so maybe put you a little bit off guard, but we're able to still clean up there with some strong macro plays. But things started to go wrong. Game 3, it felt like you had a really strong position there. I mean, you went, for reactored Hellions into your Stargate, and you had a Void Ray out there with only like 3 Marines and no other units really in sight. What do you think kind of went wrong for you there in Game 3?
I think it just went downhill when I got distracted by the Hellions Supernatural. And then I just kept using Void Tempest and making sure that was there.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then Game 4, that tank push on your third base, I think caught you a little off guard. It felt like you were really preparing for those double drops and stuff that you were experiencing in Game 2, and then the tank push kind of hit you. Is that kind of what happened? You feel like you just didn't have enough oomph at the front because of those cannons and whatnot in the main to try and help with drops?
No, I actually think I just forgot Colossus completely.
Okay. All right. And then Game 5, obviously a sharp tank push there. Had some great storms, but those tanks just kind of shredded. What do you feel really kind of went wrong there for you in that fight?
Just losing. I'm not really sure actually, but like I just couldn't push him down. I didn't have enough anything really.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, KJ, Seth, did y'all have any questions for the Archaic here?
Seth, why don't you go first?
So, I think I'm still echoing. You go ahead.
Okay, I think Seth's audio is having issues. The Archaic, you surprised me with how well you played, really. You just kind of... Do you feel like, Game 3, 4, and 5, which you ended up losing, do you feel like stamina was a thing? Because you did have so many games already, right? You had the 2v2s, and then you have these really, hectic, stressful games. Do you feel like stamina is a factor for you going downhill?
Yeah, I mean that just getting flustered really.
Okay. Well, despite all that, you almost pulled the biggest upset in the history, and it would have been a complete embarrassment for Criminal. I know he's thinking about that, losing 3-0. So I think I'd be proud of what you've done. I know it's hard to feel that right now because you're so close, but I think you should be proud of how well you played, really. No other questions. I'm good.
Alrighty, well, we can move on to the victor, the winner of Code A. Criminal, congratulations, obviously. Game 1 and 2, not quite going your way. Game 1, we saw your kind of signature SCV scouting all over around looking for those
Yes.
proxy Stargates. Wasn't there, so that kind of caused that to get up a little bit. Do you feel it's just, it got up a little bit and then, you pulled a lot of SCVs and weren't able to deny it? Do you think that's kind of what went wrong there, or how do you feel about that Game 1 there?
Game 1, I thought 4 SCVs is enough, but there's a trick there on that corner that only 3 SCVs can attack. So I said, what?
Yeah.
So, and then, okay, I've seen this before, but I forgot to make one more factory. I think one more factory would have I would have won that. And I had so much minerals floating when I saw it, and I was just a mess. Like I needed a warm up, but I wasn't able to get a warm up. So that one I threw away that game. I think I would have been able to hold it because the proxy was very far. I would have enough time to build an army to stop it, or the what do you call those things that fly missiles?
Vikings.
No, the other one, the ground one. It's the one
The
with
turrets,
the one with
the
the weave,
cyclones.
the cyclones. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
Cyclones.
yeah,
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
I think they once you get them to like 5 or 6, they're very strong. But I only had one factory, and I don't know. I forgot to build another one. In the second game, I threw that away. Miss Micro, like I don't know what happened to my ghost. And yeah, and 3, 4, 5 slowly. I think he was maybe in a panic mode because he was not as crisp as the first 2 games. So I think I got lucky.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, game 3, 4, and 5, obviously. I think game 3, I don't know about you, but we felt you were pretty dead, obviously. 4 Hellions are not generally considered to be the most helpful thing against Void Rays, but
Oh, yeah, I didn't
um,
scout. I didn't
yeah,
scout.
not seeing it there. But the Hellions actually wound up getting a lot of damage on the other side of the map, denying his natural for so long. And I see you did adjust to the double factory, even with double starport, and just got out so many high value units there and were able to snipe them down. So great job
Yeah,
there. Game 4, did you plan on making that third base push the whole time, or was it sort of you saw an opportunity and you took it?
I just saw the opportunity.
Okay, perfect. All right. Was that because you saw all those cannons and whatnot in the main base, or what kind of tipped you
Yeah, I
off to
think
that?
he wasted a lot of money in preparing for the drop, and I think he focused too much on the defense. That was not coming till later.
Right. Okay. All right. And then game 5, obviously, was that? It felt a little bit like you turned it into a tank push off the back of trying to be safe against any more proxies. Was that the case, or was it just kind of you were planning on going to the tank push the whole time?
When I saw him attacking the how do you call this, the uh I forgot what it's called. When I blocked his natural and he was trying to attack that, I said, "Oh, he's planning to expand. He's not really going to play a cheese." So then
Mm.
they switched to making a two base all in.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Yeah. And then I doubt that this is the case, but game number 2, you went for that super fast 3cc. Is that something you got off of like a stream or a video, or is that something you developed on your own?
Oh yeah,
I
that's just the
I
question.
wanted to do that's the same build for TVZ, and I was gonna try to max out that 10 minutes and attack. That's my plan.
Where'd you
Okay.
get that
Interesting.
build from?
That's a Wings of Liberty build. Like you
Ah, okay.
remove
There you
your
go.
SCVs after you made those aliens.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I
Nothing
mean
too
the
thorough.
factory, then you remove it, and then so you could make a quick 3 CC, and then yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
Perfect.
That's good.
I was wondering because Rainer off raced his Terran recently and actually played that in a tournament against a Protoss player, and it was a very similar-ish build. I think yours was a little different, but I was wondering if that was adapted from that or not. It's kind of cool that you pulled that out so soon. I think it was a couple weeks ago that he did that, so it's kind
Yeah,
of it was a funny
but
coincidence. But
it's a MVP build.
well, KJ mentioned in that game that you were. I think he said you were MVP fanatic back in Wings
Yeah.
of Liberty, so.
Yep.
Very cool. Cool to see you're still repping his builds. So, all right. Well, congratulations. And I guess we can go ahead and bid farewell to the archaic. Great match today, man. Just barely not able to close it out, but great games. And we look forward to seeing your performance next season. And I guess we can go ahead and hit
GG.
on
Yeah,
into,
it'll be
or
me and
actually,
you.
archaic.
Pretty good.
We'll take
Okay,
a
yeah.
quick break to get you settled a little bit. So we'll be back. So Sep will play some videos, and we'll be back for the match, TVT match between me and you. And I didn't learn anything from that because it's against the Protoss. So that's the good news.
All right, let's see if I can make some entertaining games with you. Let's
All
see.
right, I'll see you
All
in a
right.
bit.
All right, bye.
It should be about the frontal army fight if Ghost Chant and Cyan would just push their leverage here or leverage their advantage, I should say. A big Zealot counterattack into the third base of Ghost Chant, though, and some great runarounds out of our players in the bottom right here. Liberator's coming out, though. Oh, but big disruptor hit to start things off. Another huge disruptor hit on the Immortals of Cyan. And I think a great fight for GG Izzy is going to clear out game number 2 as well. Players fighting a little bit disjointedly there. Not too bad overall, but definitely not helping. And the counter attacks and damage from GG Izzy just proved to be too much for the Purifiers in game number 2, I think. So we are going to see them push back across the map. Ghost Chant still at a healthy supply, but Cyan has just been absolutely annihilated for the entirety of this game, just not able to survive against the onslaught of Protoss harassment. There is a final army for Ghost Champ. Once that gets cleaned up, I imagine we will see a GG out of the players in the near future. A couple good mine shots, but I just don't know that it's going to be enough here. And Cyan does leave the game. Ghost Chant trying his best, but I think he will have to tap out here soon as well. And yeah, I mean, they had a great position after that failed 2-base attack, but not able to leverage it. GG. Ghost Chant could maybe benefit from offloading some of his money onto Cyan, but no big deal. The roaches are coming in. Cyclones should be able to get good damage on the roaches, but you gotta micro them. Cyclones are not a free use unit. They require a lot of attention to detail. And good micro so far out of Ghost Chant overall. And yeah, Dark Menace kind of losing out on a lot of these roaches, a little unfortunately here. Does kill a couple Cyclones, but definitely not a super efficient trade there. Still, though, 70 workers for Dark Menace, and another 13 roaches on the way with 1-1 for his Lings coming down as well. And Cyan, I mean, I just don't know. I'll have to ask him. I feel like he had to know about those nukes. It was such a weird moment. Does he see it this time? Oh my gosh, does he think he can kill it first? Okay, good. He's running his probes. Only loses a couple probes. Does depower everything, though. But that other nuke hits just about nothing. So not too bad there for the Purifiers. A much better attack that time around. I would have liked this if they'd gone up and to the left, but as it is, I think they're just going to lose out on all their units, and that's got to feel pretty demoralizing, and that's going to be a big supply advantage for their opponents. And another mineral line says good night. Adieu to you. As the nuke lands yet again. Chance supplier, like, yeah, there's a chance, but then you got to keep in mind that Cyan is still only on 18 workers, man. Although Ghost Chant almost has enough economy to subsidize both of them, but he's not doing it, at least not yet. And another big nuke coming down. Looks like the tank may be able to see it and take it out. Before, oh no, he went out of range. Okay, good, just barely. Almost flew right past. And now there's a lot of mutas. That's a heck whack of mutas. 24, and there's almost no anti-air. So I think this will be the game. Really, I mean, Cyan will just kind of die here, I think. And yeah, GG well played does come out, and a dominating 3-0 for the GG Izzy.
It's my phone, my dialing.
Right, yeah, if someone makes a
Someone
phone
makes a
call,
phone
everything
call.
goes, yeah.
Oh my gosh, you just get dropped and you get pissed. And you lose
Oh,
the
man.
game. Oh,
Big
wow,
attack.
this attack.
This is a lot, and that's a lot of Hydras for Regret here. And Carriers, you got to hit that critical mass for them to really be that useful, especially when there's Void Rays out here. And the Voiders of the Arcade doing a great job target firing. And just a sharp attack here, and we did talk about Hypercurl went up pretty far up in the workers before he started making units this game. It looks like that's coming back to bite him a little bit, as he did not have that defensive attack. Yeah, that's true. That's so many transfuses. That's like 6 or 7. Oh man, That may have been the difference in that fight for
Yeah.
sure. I think they may be able to hold here, but an
Oh,
Oracle
there
pulled
was
the
an
queens.
oracle there, but you know there was a spore there, so I think he overreacted to it, and he needed the queens right up front. And now there's a
That's
Hydra
true.
parade push.
By the time you know that there's an attack coming, your queens, take a few business days to finally show up with their movement speed. So
Well,
a
you know,
little
you're
unfortunate though.
the thing is, you are a Grandmaster Zerg player, so you know this as a Zerg player that typically what you want to do is you have roaming queens and you have the inject queens.
That's true. He should have been able to defend it, especially with only one Oracle. If it's 2 or 3, then it makes a lot more sense to pull the queens up there. But with only one, it's definitely a little questionable. But a sharp timing out of Kadeo here, and I really like it. I think this is exactly what they need to be doing. And I absolutely love the addition of just a single sentry along with those Void Rays. Guardian Shield
Yes.
does so much against Hydras and Void Rays. So we'll see if he actually winds up using the Guardian Shield here in
Maybe
this fight.
he's gonna use it just for force field one.
Yeah,
Not
1 or
using
2 force fields coming in. Not using it yet. I mean, it doesn't look like they particularly
need
need it here, but needed those swag points, and we're just missing out on them, which is kind of unfortunate.
Game
War
one,
Bunny stuff,
guys.
GG. So, yeah, sharp timing. I really like that out of Kadeo. GG. And then in this game, it looks like it's going to be a very big attack out of the Archaic, and regret as we have a Baneling Nest, lots of extra lings on the way.
Oh, this is the all-in,
And,
and they're not clearing out this Overlord. Hypertroll can see it.
Yeah, and it looks
But
like we're going to have
doesn't
5
matter.
gateways for the Archaic as
Oh my
well.
goodness,
Yeah.
They don't even see anything. They're not. They don't have any presence on the map.
Yeah, the vision is just not there. A shield battery's going down. I mean, yeah, I think this is just going to be a super fast kill here, as Stalkers will be able to deal with the Void Rays, just numbers
They have
game.
No idea.
And all these Banelings, oh, and the Zerglings get a full surround on the Stalkers as well, which means the shield battery will be of no use. And still slow Lings for Hyper Turtle. A free Queen as well is found there, and the Lings of Hyper Turtle getting jumped upon, and maybe even Banelings, not quite. Yeah, this is as all in as it gets, really, but there's just nothing to really defend here. And I think we're going to see a pretty quick game here, one way or the other.
19 drones, 22 probe all in. This is so all in, man.
It is super all in. I mean, Archaic doesn't even have an expansion, but at the same time, it's only one Void Ray out. It doesn't have a shield battery in the main base to help defend it, and will fall. That Stalker will fall as well, and just continual warp off of 5 gateways and continual links point across. GG. I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, but
Maybe you're not making it to the stream.
All right, let's
maybe
try
you're
that again.
just
All right. I think it was muted on Streamlabs here.
I don't
But
think I can hear
there you go.
anything on the stream.
There you go.
supposedly we can hear.
So Sir Maligan is confirmed. You can
Oh, there
hear
we
it
go.
now.
There we go. Okay, good, good.
All right. I know it's been a long night. Criminal, what do you think your chances are here against KJ Freedom on a Terran versus Terran?
I haven't seen him play, so but he's a pretty good player regardless. So I think it'll be a hard battle for me.
All right. Itzy, do you have any questions here?
Yeah, so so you haven't managed to look at any of KJ's VODs then, I guess, kind of just focused on the winning the Code, and then whatever happens here is sort of just, cherry on top?
I've never seen. I think the coldest I've seen was the one with Sir Maligan because I wanted to beat Sir Maligan. So every time he's playing, I'm watching it, but I haven't
Ah,
had a chance yet.
nice. Okay, that makes perfect sense.
But
Okay.
yeah, just not enough time to watch all of it. But I've seen all of the VODs that where I played, and I think yeah, uh, a lot of uh, a lot of fun games. But it's mostly 2v2 that I see that when you guys are streaming.
Okay, perfect. And
Gotcha.
then I guess how do you feel? So you don't obviously know how TVT against KJ is going to go. How do you feel about TVT generally, though? Is that a matchup you're pretty confident in, or?
In the Diamond League, yeah, I'm pretty confident with TVT. Uh, yeah, I don't. I think most of the time TVT becomes into a macro game. Yeah, it's pretty boring, but we'll try to make it fun.
All right. Well, we look forward to it then. And then I guess we can talk to KJ a little bit as well. So I'm not sure if I'm getting a proper read or anything, but it seems like you're pretty pumped and pretty happy today. I've never seen so many emotes out of you in the chat. So how are you feeling about tonight's match?
I feel pretty confident either player I would have played, just because I don't know. I saw a lot of mistakes, so hopefully they continue making mistakes and I make less mistakes. So we'll see.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, I guess we've kind of heard your thoughts in the past on TVT. The more mech there is, the less you like it, I think. So obviously, hopefully it goes well for both of you. Seth, did you have any questions for KJ?
No, I think it's been a long night. I'm eager to see who's going to move on to face against instability. This match is not going to help her since she's Protoss, but she did get a lot of info if Criminal's going to move on in that last matchup. But good luck and have fun, gentlemen. We'll talk to you guys after the match. We'll mute and deafen our players here. All right. So before we get started, ET, who do you like here, and what's the score?
I mean, you gotta pull for the Code S player over the Code A player. I think it's hard to tell with TVT. It feels like it could really go any way, no matter how much better the player is a lot of times. So I think I am gonna go Freedom. Probably gonna say 3-2-1.
2-1. And how many mech games are we gonna see out of KJ? Do you think?
Heck, I'm not sure. Not very many, I don't think,
All right, let's take
but
ourselves
maybe though.
out. Yeah, I think he's gonna go mech 3 times, probably 2 mech games, and then he's gonna switch it up with bio, but go back to mech. But without further ado, let's get it started. I'm gonna play the intro music and then kick it over to ET.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
All right, I think the intro music is done. We are here in the upper right hand side of the map. We got the blue Terran player. He is. And his opponent in the bottom left hand side of the map, the red Terran player. He is.
KJ Freedom.
And funnily enough, with the API that KJ's got set up on his stream, betting is now open for this match because he is playing with his main account. So if you want to bet on that, feel free. Anyways, we do see, pretty standard stuff. No double proxy racks, Reaper out of either player, which is a powerful build we've seen in some matches recently. I think it was like Cure versus Special or something like that. Cure versus Dream, maybe. I think it was Cure versus Dream. No, it was Beyond versus Dream. They both proxy racks Reapered each other. Double proxy racks Reaper. And Dream won. And then the next game, Dream was like, okay, back to macro then. And Beyond was like, oh, no. I'm double proxy racks Reapering you again. And just straight up killed Dream right there. So anyways, we aren't going to see that, I don't think, in this series. But, there's always the option. So both players did scout to try and ensure that that doesn't catch them too off guard if it does ever come. Now, Orbital's on the way for both players. KJ has locked in the SCV. of Criminal. Tries to take his gas, but actually isn't able to because Criminal's SCV accidentally blocks it and is down in the net to see if there's an expansion going down. But it looks like Criminal's going to drop it up in the main base. Oh, no, he is going to drop it in the net. Will KJ block? He does get the cute little block off. Delays it by a couple seconds. Not too bad. And does get that SCV out of there as well. Marine out of Criminal. Reaper out of Freedom. As we do have Reactor, it looks like going down on the barracks for both players. Factory a little bit quicker for Criminal, though. And Reactor quite a little bit ahead as he did go for the Marine, which obviously has a much shorter build time than the Reaper. Making 2 Marines at a time now. And Reaper does have some potential for Freedom to get some damage done as it does hop into the main base right here. It can kind of run around on the Marines and will get the building SCV on the factory. So that will have to be manually replaced by Criminal. And indeed he does. Misclicks the Reaper a little bit, but does make it out with him. Will he go around to that natural base? He could definitely delay that nat as well, as the Marines are all just chilling in the main. Don't think he's too worried about that, though, as he's focusing on his macro on his side of the map, I do believe. But an SCV kill, always nice. Always very nice here. As Freedom's factories finished up as well now. Starport on the way for both players. It looks like we're going to see quick tanks potentially out of Criminal. KJ going into his starport as well. And Reactor, perhaps Hellions out of the factory. That's a little rare to see. Maybe Widow Mines as well. I'd be kind of surprised to see that. Okay, it is going to be Hellions. So, a little more standard. But a quick 3cc here with Hellions. Do got to wonder if Criminal goes for a pretty early tank push as he's potentially shaping up to do. How is Freedom going to hold against that? Still, does have the Reaper, so he can get scouts off on what his opponent's doing. So perhaps with that information... Oh, his quick reaction on the Reaper even hits the nade on one of the Marines. I thought that Reaper was dead for sure, but good quick reaction out of Freedom there. Additional factories going down. We are indeed going to be seeing Mech out of Freedom here. He's going immediately into Viking production. Going to start up a tank soon as well, I do believe. Criminal has enough money for a third base, but has not dropped it just yet. I think we just saw it go down. Indeed, we did. But not opting to go for any sort of big 2-base push, which honestly, KJ's build looks decently vulnerable against that super fast third base and late tank production, but shouldn't get punished for it, at least not yet. Additional factories will finish up. Stim not on the way yet for Criminal. It's a ways off. The Hellions do come in. One does fall, but gets an idea of the tank count of Criminal. Sees enough Marines that will likely know that it's bio. Or at least I'd imagine it's bio. Could technically go into mech behind this as well, but doesn't really seem to fit within Criminal's style, so to speak. Double Viking on the way now. As Freedom not making double Viking, just single one at a time out of that reactor there. And Criminal does manage to shoo away the harassment of Freedom, who is down in supply a little bit, but that's because he went for an earlier CC and added on to his production a little bit earlier, so should start catching up in that supply count very quickly as he's able to produce 2 tanks and Hellbats and Vikings all at once. Third base is finishing up as an orbital. Third base has finished up for Criminal as well. I feel like that orbital for Freedom's a little late. I think maybe forgot to make it, so that's a, you know, some lost mule time potentially, but not the end of the world most likely. Double tank on the way for Freedom now as he's making 3 SCVs at a time. Still does have that third CC done before, even with the slight delay. No armory on the way yet for those upgrades. Criminal has made an engineering bay, but he's mainly using it for turrets. KJ's adding on some turrets as well. Getting more and more Hellions. Got lots of Vikings out. Both players playing relatively carefully, as TVT is an explosive matchup. Freedom heavily supply blocked, though, and still no supply depots in sight. This is something he's talked about in cast with me in the past. You know, Terran is one of the hardest races to realize you're supply blocked on, because while there is an audio indication, your units still queue up, and you still kind of spend your money. They just sit there and don't actually build. So we do see double depot, but that was well after he was already supply blocked. 4 Marines coming in for Criminal. He's trying to get a read on whether it's mech or not, I think. Double armory now on the way. So KJ adjusting well to the supply block, I think, goes, okay, I can't spend this money on units, so I'm going to go ahead and drop double eBay, get my double upgrades rolling. So the upgrades for Criminal still have not started up. He's up 8 workers, though. As Freedom hit that heavy supply block, his worker production was delayed, but his 3rd CC is down well before that of Criminal, and does have a quick sensor tower out already. Even using his barracks as a spotter to the north airspace of his base. I really like that. Very well done there. Criminal as well, though, adding on some depots out the left side of the map to catch any drops into his net, so also very nice there. And then obviously has the turrets in his main base to shoo away drops. High sec auto tracking on the way very quickly for KJ, and another sensor tower and a sneaky 4th base out for Criminal. We'll see if KJ manages to sniff that out at any point. I don't feel like you really need to necessarily hide the 4th base, though, against mech, as they're not likely to attack for quite a while anyways, and you're sort of expected to be on 4 or 5 bases by the time they push out. KJ, you see good mechanics. Obviously, KJ, everyone, not as high level as he used to be, but KJ used to be pretty close to GM at several points, so he's got those he's got the right game knowledge and things like that. So he does have spotters out at lots of the bases, has both the towers. Unfortunately, with this hidden base, the spotter's not going to see that because he did only put spotters at the 2 most likely expansions for his opponent. So it is going to be a little while before he realizes what's going on, but may catch transferring SCVs. Obviously, Terran doesn't really have that whole recalling the probes thing that Protoss does. And it takes a while to make enough SCVs yourself. But 3 additional command centers on the way for Criminal. Meanwhile, 3 additional factories on the way for Freedom. But Criminal, he's maybe trying to switch into some type of mech of his own. He's got out 2 factories. He's going for Blue Flame Hellions, 3 at a time, as well as some mass Viking production. I'm really not sure what to think about this one. I think if KJ gets wind of it, like if the scan in the main base, which we theory would see soon, you just kind of go into Thors, right? I mean, this army is very fragile for Criminal, very odd for sure. A ton of Vikings, and then Hellions underneath it, but Hellions aren't really going to deal with anything, and there's not Marines out for Freedom. I do got to question what's going on there, but 1-1 upgrades finishing up for KJ. Building armor on the way. He does have Ravens, and he's able to get in position with 4 tanks on this command center. But Criminal's going to show the Vikings now, and I doubt Freedom was expecting that, as that is a heck whack of Vikings, honestly. We'll be able to pull back. He's trying to morph in some Hellbats as well, and do we see Thors now? Or even Ravens. But the Liberator does siege up on top of some of the tanks. Don't think it'll quite manage to kill one. Does not, but 5 SCVs go down. That command center is still delayed out of Criminal, but Criminal has a lot more supply than Freedom does. I think Freedom is a little lost here, not quite sure what to do. He's now adding on those Thors, though, and Thors are going to do great against BCs. You have to have out Ravens, really, to be able to deal with the Thors. With BC tech, Thors just deal so much single target damage against air units. Still, though, Criminal does have a push timing here. He's got heavy air superiority. It's not up in the tank count, though, so it's going to be a little hard to make a push happen. Freedom does scan, and of course, does have that sensor tower. He's trying to keep it safe. Oh, and his tank's even able to catch the tank of Criminal. Does kill it, so that's 2 of Criminal's 4 tanks on this push down already. He's got a lot of Vikings, of course, but that's just about it. Air superiority is, of course, important in this matchup, but it's not the be-all, end-all, and with 3 Thors coming out, they'll be able to push back those Vikings very effectively. As Freedom's trying to push in, not quite able to do so, but here come the BCs. They are scouted by the scan, so he knows it's coming. Needs to morph these Thors into single target mode. Yes, it's nice against the Vikings to have splash, but Vikings are big enough units that it doesn't necessarily matter that much unless they're super clumping their Vikings up with chain. Never really should be. Morphs in some Hellbats, does KJ on top of the tanks. Every tank he kills here is very nice because Criminal's not really making very many of them. At the same time, Criminal is focusing elsewhere. but no upgrades for Criminal, which is a big deal. It's going to be 2-2 to 0-0 here in the near future, which is a huge deficit for Criminal. Still, he is up 40 supply, which is nice, up in bases as well. But as long as KJ doesn't get too flustered by this sort of odd composition, I think he's going to be in a good spot. No more Thors on the way, though, and I'm not sure why. He's seen it. He started to make Thors. He's made 3, but I think you got to go mass Thor Raven or something like that here, right? Push out really can't be the play, can it? I mean, 3 Thors against 3 BCs, 2 more BCs on the way, and a lot of Vikings, which can land as well, of course. There's only 4 tanks out for Criminal, and he has spread himself out across the map quite a bit, but I think most of his army is concentrated in the spot KJ's already located. There's a bit of a fight here with the Vikings for something. Hellions do get taken out. Quite a lot of Hellions there. And Criminal's tanks are not in position to block the tanks of Freedom, who's going to try and kill a tank with Hellions, does manage to do so. Still no single target mode on those Thors, though, I don't think. Maybe some of them have it? Nope. It's all splash damage all day. Surely he's going to recognize now, right? No, I think he wants splash damage. Interesting. So going for the splash. Did he kill a base there? I think he killed one of the CCs there. Another one did float away, so that's pretty nice. Does get a bit of damage, but at the same time, Criminal's still on 4 bases with extra orbitals behind that, so does even up the supply. 4 more Thors on the way, so that's what we like to see. We did need to see that in the near future, as we do see +3 on the way as well. Oh, but Criminal's going to try and make some sort of counterattack happen. Thors are already here, though, and I think this was an ill-fated warp. There's no Vikings out for Freedom, so won't be able to chase this down, and still no single target mode, which does suck. Really definitely needs that, but just disables one of the BCs for the moment. That single target mode on the Thors is so important against BCs, and Freedom's just not doing it. I'm not sure if that's intentional or if he's just purely forgotten. Surely you can't just not know, so it's got to be intentional. I mean, it's very obvious whenever it's one versus the other, right? I mean, one of these BCs would be dead if these were in single target mode at the moment, but instead they're not. They get out completely scot-free after a super, super bold warp-in. Very brave, we'll put it that way. BC does warp into the 5th base of Freedom in the right side there. And the Thors will chase it down. And again, this would be a dead BC, but he's got it on the slash damage. So, I mean, instead it won't be. I'm so confused. I think Freedom has to be a bit thrown off by this strategy out of Criminal. Probably not what he's used to, and so that's why we're seeing a little bit of weirdness here. Okay, thank goodness. There we go. And it melts. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever needed a live demonstration of why you should have these in single target mode in this situation, there it is. You're welcome. Call me anytime. Open 9 to 5. Holy cow. That was... high-impact payloads right there, ladies and gentlemen, in action, and looking pretty beautiful there. 6 SCVs do go down, now 9, but Freedom's still floating quite a bit of money, so not too concerned about that, I don't think. And now there are a lot of Vikings. I mean, that is so many Vikings. 32 Vikings is a pretty crazy amount here, and I think they're going to land in, yeah, and the tank will get some decent initial shots. Only 1 shot does get off. Will he float the CC? He's just going to counterattack. I kind of like that. I think the army of KJ is going to perform better over time. Oh, never mind. He's splitting his army up. I do like that as well. So tanks coming in here. A lot of Thors, enough to push back these BCs. And these 2 bases on the left side for Criminal will be forfeit, really. As there's just no way to push into this with the army he's got. It's going to be +3, +2 against +1 armor for the mech army of Criminal. So won't be able to push into the natural, but should kill that base off to the left as well. Does have bases all the way up the left side of his own. So Freedom shouldn't feel too bad about what's going on here. And the Vikings, yeah, they just don't have the staying power as an army on the ground. So, oh, but KJ pulls back. He doesn't know. Oh, no. He doesn't realize. Pretty unfortunate there. Still, should be able to push up the right side now and kill some of those bases, as all of Criminal's tanks, I believe, are in that natural base choke, trying to hold that. Maybe 1 or 2 tanks in position at the 3rd, but I really don't know. Okay, 1 tank at the 3rd base for Criminal here at the moment. So he could push in there. I think he's just going to push this right side base instead, which will still be a base kill, which is important. Both players, though, their economy's suffering, and KJ, I gotta say, not doing the best job of rebuilding it. 32 workers right now. I'd like to see at least 60 at this point. You're not that late into the game, and you've only got 5 orbitals. 5 orbitals is quite a bit, but I don't think he's really muling because he has to use scans, right? BCs will warp atop this orbital command, and I think, though, you just leave like 3 or 4 Thors, and this can't happen anymore. Or if it does happen, you just get 6 free battle cruisers, you know? At the same time, though, while this does do decent damage, what else is he accomplishing behind this? I mean, he's starting to get into his upgrades, which is nice. That is important. But if the Thors catch these BCs with no warp, the BCs fall. That is really the only staying power that Criminal has in his army here. KJ does seem pretty confused, though, so that is an advantage to Criminal right there. I mean, I don't blame him. This is not a typical style you see in TBT. So I got to say, probably definitely a little bit thrown off at the least. And I think, yeah, KJ, he's just not sure what to do. He's splitting his army a bit, so that's good. Oh, and Criminal's BCs might get found by the Thors. Does Criminal know where this army is? I don't think he does. KJ knows where his army is, though. Good damage going down by the Thors initially. Will they get that single BC at the front there? A couple disables. So, oh, and several of the BCs getting absolutely annihilated by the high impact payloads. Should make it out with these other 2 as well, I think. Oh, no, he won't. Not warping away. I think he had it up, but they were disabled originally, so that is a lot of BCs going down. Only 1 remaining. I believe that was 5 BCs that fell there. He's trying to swap back into tanks, though, and these Thors aren't going to be great against the tank army. At the same time, though, there's still 12 tanks with it because KJ's army is massive. 144 supply of units. He just needs to rebuild that economy, and he's starting to make SCVs. At the same time, though, there's a lot of Hellions here, and that hidden base of Criminal, it's funny, he really hasn't saturated it at all, so it's not actually doing that much yet. But just the fact that it's there for later is nice for him. I'm starting to put some SCVs there, so that's nice. But the Hellions find the top left base of KJ, the only fresh base for KJ, and that's going to hurt him quite a bit. So that orbital command, when it falls, that'll bring it back down to 3, soon to be 4 again, orbitals, which is nice. But you can't push into this, right? Maybe if he came in 2 different angles, he could, but that's a lot of tanks. I guess if you just go disable with all the Ravens, right? Yeah, he's going to try and do it. I think it could work. If these tanks go down, these Vikings are not an army. Like, don't get it twisted. That's not an army you're seeing right there. There are more tanks behind it, but not sieging up far enough forward, and KJ should be able to take this base. I think you just take this base and then pull back, right? Yeah. I think, how many disables does he have left on his Ravens? He's got like 3 or 4 disables, I think. I think they're, what, 50 energy apiece? Maybe 75. So either 2 or like 6 disables on his Ravens.
Sorry,
all those tanks could be disabled. He could push in and win the game. Not quite wanting to go for it, though, which is fine. 5 more Thors. KJ, you gotta make an economy.
So we're
Goodness.
leaving really early.
He's not remaking his
So we have to
SCVs.
leave
He's
here
not
at
making that
6:30.
Iron Bank,
Or
as they
what time
call
do we
it.
have to leave here?
There are a couple Thors here, but that's
you
not
find that
enough to
from
actually take down this number of Vikings, unless the Vikings just lift up, in which case, yeah, you can just get some poke damage as they leave, I guess. No harm, no foul. KJ finally finds out about this base. I'm sure he thinks it was just recently taken and not something that's been there for forever. Man, so many Vikings. Not a whole lot to do with them. I mean, good harassment with them, so he's getting something done, but still, not as much as could be done. Freedom, he's going to head up that top left side. I think there's some tanks getting set up there, though, for Criminal. But still, I mean, Raven Thor should win this fight here, really, if he micros it well. Here he goes. He's moving forward. Is that a tank line there? It is. That's a lot of tanks. Still, the Ravens could annihilate this so hard. He does see it, so he can preemptively, you know, he can, from the safety and the comfort of his bed, basically, send in those disables from as far away as he really wants to with that watchtower. Same time, there's a Hellion run by trying to happen, but I think this single Thor should be able to take this down. Okay, he will run by, so that's nice. KJ knows about it, though. Will he react? I think there are some units in position for it. Big disables do go down. He's going to push in with his tanks. If he can cut off this army of Criminal, get in the middle of it, that'll be very nice for him. Does disable even another tank, but then the Ravens do go down. 2 tanks still there. But he doesn't even need to push this now, right? I mean, how many tanks are there left for Criminal? I guess there's still 9, so that's nice. And he can kill these mostly from the high ground, so they don't actually get too much damage done. So very nice. This base will fall for Criminal. He's back down to 40 SCVs. But well, this base should get taken down at least. Yeah, we'll be able to take it down. And KJ still has a massive army with massive upgrades. So, and hey, this is really the only fresh mining base of Criminal. He hasn't retaken the right side at all. His natural base is fully mined out. His main base is fully mined out. He's got long distance mining right now, and that is it. That's all he's got. That's all she wrote. And KJ is starting to remake his SCVs. He has 3 fresh bases basically available. All this harassment is good, but at the end of the day, if you can't continue and keep it up and have economy of your own, you're left with your opponent having all those bases fresh because they've never been able to mine off of them. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Is KJ's bank is skyrocketing here. He's got 3/3 Thors against only +1, +2, and the +1 is only for the Vikings, which obviously aren't going to help against the Thors that much. Obviously, Criminal not dead here. He's got to retake this base soon. Oh, he started to move his command center from his natural over there, but now it's just hanging out in the airspace and has not landed over at that base on the left side. Yeah, it's just chilling there. He has not landed it yet. That's so painful. That long-distance mining is so much less efficient than if that base was right there. Especially because the base isn't there to long-distance mine to. So those SCVs were mining long-distance from the main to the 3rd base and then back. So that's a long ways to travel. And now they're going to travel from the 4th base to the 3rd base and back. And yeah, I mean, this is just such a painful position. More and more Ravens on the way now. And Freedom, he's now able to multi-prong, and with 153 army supply, that's going to be a lot of damage happening on whichever side he feels like. Even finds a couple of those Banshees. Are the tanks in position, though? No, they're not. And this base has to lift away. That base on the left side still hasn't landed. And I think we've seen KJ, I mean, definitely mistakes were made on both sides, but I think KJ's managed to shape it up and clean it up, and is in a very good position now in this game at number 1. Woo! And ladies and gentlemen, we saved the long series for last, I get the feeling. We are already 25 minutes in to game number 1, and this is a best of 5. Which means even if it is a clean sweep by the winning player, you're still looking at an average of an hour and a half for this series, so goodness. Trying to counterattack with the Vikings now. But KJ even finds some with the turrets there with his Ravens. Gets 2 or 3. Yeah, 3 do go down. Even more to the Thors. And I think Criminal, he's starting to understand the position he's found himself in, I feel. He knows this is bad. And he's trying to get anything done, but he's just not going to be able to do so. And I feel like KJ's got to be feeling pretty nice right now. His opponent's on only 1 mining base against KJ's 3 mining bases. And KJ can kind of just take more bases whenever he feels like it at this point. I mean, just drop 3 or 4 more orbitals, have tons of mules available. You've got this ridiculous army supply here. What are you really going to do? And look, these tanks are unprotected against the Ravens. Means they could go in and get a lot of disables here. Will they, though? He doesn't have that many Ravens here, so he's going to disable... Oh, no, he's just going to drop turrets. He's going to drop Trow, as Pig would say. I think a couple disables might have been more value. He does kill 1 tank, though. KJ now sieging up the tanks. And Thors, they don't take a ton of splash damage. They do take a lot of that heavy single target damage, but I think the Thors will be able to push through. And even if they can't, KJ doesn't mind inefficient trades at this point in the game. He's so far up in the economy. And Criminal even making Widow mines because they're just really cheap, I think. But obviously not super great against Thors, as they do push through yet another base of Criminal. Criminal's trying to siege up, but it's in the face of the Thors. So many of his units getting taken down, and only 50 supply remaining. KJ at 160 with a ton of production, 4 more command centers coming down, and 120 army supply remaining. GG is called. All right, well, a wild game 1. "27 minutes," which means this could easily be a 2-hour series. So we'll see. Nope. All right, sorry. I'm forgetting to join the lobby. Here we go. It's going to be Glittering Ashes for game number 2. Obviously, 2,000 atmospheres, pretty large map. Does lend itself to those long games, but hopefully we don't have a 2 or 3 hour series. But if we do, you know, that's the player's right. It's their right to do so. We're loading in, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 2. Here we go.
You are watching FSL Season 5.
In the bottom left-hand side of Glittering Ashes LE, we have our Red Terran player. Give it up for
Freedom.
his opponent. In the top right-hand side, the Blue Terran player. Can he fight back? He is.
Criminal.
I've never actually done this, so I'm seeing if I can figure out how to bet on the fly. Bet 1,000, win? I don't know. There's no contest. Oh, well. All right. Proxy barracks out for KJ. Single barracks, though, so nothing super committal here. And that single gas. And then a barracks at home. So it is a 2 racks, but one's at home. Is he going to go for like a Marauder style thing? Or I think it's just going to be a Reaper, right? I believe so, at least. We'll see. He still only got 1 SCV mining out of that gas in the main base, though, I think, which does indicate that maybe it's not a Reaper build. Oh my gosh, it's a CC first. Poor Criminal, man. I feel like there have not been many breaks for Criminal in his series today. I mean, obviously, he was still able to win the first one, but we'll see if that holds up for the second one as well. As the Reaper will be done before his first barracks is done. Yikers. And it is indeed a Reaper build with that second barracks at home. Will we see a Reaper out of the barracks at home as well? No. Yes. Okay, we will. So it's actually 3 barracks for Criminal, no gas, though, which means no counter of Reapers for himself and no scout. And now he's just like, oh, I've got to protect my natural base. And KJ's got to be feeling it pretty peachy about seeing a CC first here, dude. Got to be feeling pretty all right, you know? Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Wah wah wee wah. Anyways, 2 SCVs already down. 1 Marine on the way now for Criminal. Oh, what is KJ doing? What is Freedom doing? You got to get in there. Oh, and the Marine even walks a little bit before it starts fighting, so the Marine will go down. KJ? The Marine won't go down, I mean, because of the excellent micro out of Criminal, and not at all because his opponent just ran against a 1-hit Marine. 2 Reapers will come into the main base now. I think he wants that overwhelming potential. And we'll have it here as that Reaper grenade even will allow him to kill another Marine. So far, it's been a flaw. Well, okay. Why do I speak? Why do I speak? Not a flawless game no mo, ladies and gentlemen. And I think if this was a full-on 2 racks proxy instead of a single barracks at home, single barracks proxied, this would be a super easy win. As it is, Criminal stabilizing a little bit. He's getting that double gas up. Factory is still ahead for Freedom, of course. But This game is not as over as it should be. But Freedom's going to bunker the natural since he sees like 3 barracks, no factory. Will Criminal be able to deny it? He's moving down with his Marines. But there's going to be 4 Reapers here to catch these 3 Marines. Such a smart play out of Freedom. Maybe. There we go. Okay, it's a smart play if he goes in and kills them. If he doesn't, a little less smart, but he does it. Still killed a lot of Marines here. Still trading pretty well. Needs to target down the Mule and then those SCVs. Does get a Mule. Does get an SCV as well. Can't push up onto that high ground, but that's okay. Is he coming in with another Reaper? Indeed he is. Cancels that. And he's up on SCVs. He's got a factory at home. He's going into tank production here shortly as well, I think. He's even putting a lot of damage onto this orbital command here. Really no reason for Criminal to not be lifting this, by the way. It's not like the Reapers are going to be able to do anything else if they're not shooting at that, right? So you want to lift it ASAP. Stem on the way for Criminal. Will we see a siege tank out of Freedom? Not yet. But we do have an eBay on the way. Starport just now coming down for Criminal. Will be done soon. It's actually around the time of KJ's because obviously he was pretty committed to the Reapers with his gas. Stem is on the way. Tank on the way for both players. And KJ, I mean, he had such a good opportunity and not quite able to capitalize it as much as I think he could have, maybe. Funnily enough, he kind of bounces those Marines a little bit closer to his Reapers. Still, this is a lot of damage and continuing to throw those grenades in at the Marines. I think you just target more SCVs with these final 2. There's no real reason to get out with them, but still 18 workers to 31. Big army supply advantage for Criminal for sure, but as long as KJ has a good amount of tanks, some Vikings, maybe a Raven or 2 for those auto turrets, he's going to be in a good spot. Criminal has, I'm going to say, 5 minutes to win this game. And if he doesn't do it in that time, he is dead. Pretty much. I mean, he's down 10 workers. I could be wrong, but down 10 workers. He's not super far ahead on the tech. I mean, his stem is ahead of KJ's, but that's only going to last for so long, after all. More and more tanks on the way out for KJ. Medevacs now coming out for both players as well. And that 3rd CC is adding yet another timer of advantage to Freedom. So he has a big eco advantage here. Tank will siege up in the net. There's a couple low health SCVs. Woo! Barely makes it away with both Reapers before that second shot gets off. +1 on the way very quickly for Freedom, who's trying to see this drop coming and will see this drop coming. Reaper does see it moving out. May or may not actually see it, but it's not moving out at the very least. We see 2 turrets immediately dropping in the main base, so I think he did indeed see it. I'm going to go with a solid probably on that one. At the same time, he's putting all his units very far forward at his base, so well outside of his natural base even, so not really in position to deal with this when the drop does come in. Again, Criminal boosting a little bit early there. You want to boost, like as you're going into the base, not before, because then this happens a little bit. Free damage on that medevac. And he sees an opportunity, but Stem is finishing up, so there's no snipe opportunity on that. And there's going to be tanks sieging up back here. I mean, actually pretty good here. Oh, he's going to get on top of that tank. Very nice for Criminal here, but another tank now here. Oh, man. KJ, though, playing it sloppy. Not reacting very quickly to a lot of this stuff that's happening here. But now there is another tank in position, and this should push this back. Will he boost away? Indeed he does. Barely gets out of there. Oh, but there's a turret in the way. Will he make it away? Nope. KJ stems. Make sure he gets that medevac. And with that, I'd say it would have been a pretty good trade if those 4 Marines and that medevac make it out. As it is, not too bad for Freedom here. At the same time, even supply now. So decent for Criminal, but I don't think he has a 3rd CC unless I missed it going up. I did not. So no 3rd CC, no +1. He does have combat shields, and Freedom has forgotten about that, so that's nice. But Freedom does have 3 tanks to the 4 of Criminal, and Criminal has no medevacs. He's got no staying power with this army. It's just combat shielded, stemmed Marines. with a few tanks, and that's it. +1 now starting up. He's going into a second factory, but KJ's got a pretty good tank spread here and a sensor tower so quickly. A hallmark of KJ's play, he plays very safe, and we're seeing that here. In comes the stem up. Oh, he's unsieging the tank here. What are you doing, KJ? Oh, no. You can't let that tank get exposed like that. Okay. I mean, it's okay to lose that position there. Sensor tower, that's okay to lose as well. KJ does clean up a tank. He's up a little bit in supply, but not much. Does have that +1 upgrade advantage, and now just immediately making double Liberator. He says, you've got no air units here. Liberator is going to be basically the best thing possible here. He also knows he has the position defended, so he's going to go out with the double drop, trying to get some damage done on the other side of the map. I like that choice there, and it looks like we might be shaping up for a little bit shorter of a second game. Could still go the distance, of course, but not too bad for KJ here. And Criminal, I mean, he's just now making a couple medevacs. I don't think he has any out. Still 1 medevac out, 2 more on the way, so that's not too bad. But KJ, he's definitely pulling ahead here. And with those Liberators, will he go in here? Oh, KJ, come on. There we go. Does do the mobile unloading, but only 3 Marines. Okay, he's going to go drop right in the main base. Oh, and this Reaper might even get a kill on the third base. Pulls the whole army back, does KJ with this double drop. Will this Reaper? Oh, no. The Reaper just killed that third base. Holy cow. MVP Reaper. How many kills does that Reaper have? Let me see this. Only 2. Okay, whatever. Never mind. Forget about him. He's unimportant. Nobody likes him. Anyways, double drop in the main base kills 15 SCVs as well. And because of this choke, he's actually trading pretty well against the Marines of Criminal, who just walk in and eat lead, as they say. An excellent trade for Freedom, who is now doubling the supply of his opponent. And Criminal, I gotta say, he's kind of in shambles at this point, I think. Freedom's coming across the map. He's up 40 supply, and just a very nice game out of him thus far. Not the best Liberator siege, I'll give you that, but I think it'll get the job done here as the Liberators are on top of the tanks. The Marines are on top of the tanks. There goes the army of Criminal, and I think there goes the game. He's going to try to hold here, but it is a desperate situation at a third of the supply of his opponent, just about. Liberator even finding yet another tank. Oh, it actually shoots an SCV. Does get a shot off on the tank, though. Will unsiege. And KJ is going to meticulously push in. GG is called. Indeed, a shorter game than game number 1. So, we'll head into game number 3, potentially a 3-0, but last time we saw Criminal on the cusp of being 3-0'd. He made a little bit of a turnaround, just a little bit of a turnaround, so we'll see. It could happen here. Obviously, the winner of this will move on to face Instability in the semi-finals of the Code S here. And kind of crazy to think about. I think we will be... next Friday is the final games, I believe. Yeah. The final games will be a week from today. For this season, we will crown a victor of the Premier Division, the Code S. We're loading into game. Here we go. In the upper left-hand side of Berlingrad LE, we have our red Terran player. He is
KJ Freedom.
Still no luck. In the bottom right, the blue Terran player. He is
Criminal.
Nope. All right, I give up, ladies and gentlemen. I'll have to pay attention next time he's streaming actual ladder for what people do. Nonetheless, we've got our players here, and obviously that game number 2 went about as poor in the builds as it could for Criminal. You never really want to be going up against Proxy Reaper when you go CC first. This may come as a shock to some of you, but it is nonetheless true. So, game 3, we'll see what happens. Will it be
Proxy Tempest? I don't think so. I really don't think so. But we'll see. Scouts coming out for both players this time. Criminal, a little too jaded to try that one again, let me tell you. As Barracks will be finishing up for both players. Double gas out of Freedom. And gets his depot there in time to block the SCV scout of Criminal from seeing what's going on. I'm talking quieter now. I don't know why, but apparently we're in ASMR cast now. We see a beautiful gas block refinery out of KJ Freedom here. As the Marine does pop out, attempts to catch that SCV, but it does run away with a quick pull. SCV of Freedom does go down in the main base. But that gas ain't coming down anytime soon, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen. Marines on the way for both players. Factory on the way for Freedom. No command center just yet. He's getting a little bit aggressive with it, potentially. A little weird to see aggression with Marines and not Reaper Hellion in TVT, but I'm excited to see what he has in store for us. Who knows? Factory will be finishing up shortly. Factory on the way for Criminal. And I think we'll see an expand here shortly out of Freedom as well, and indeed we do. Perhaps a fast stem here as the tech buff finishes up. Nope, just will be swapping it for the tanks instead. So maybe just a quick 1.5 base tank Viking Marine push on the natural base of Criminal. We shall see. Now, tanks are on the way. So I was right. Again. You can thank me later. But starport on the way for both players as well. And we're seeing reactored Hellions potentially, maybe mines. I think it's Hellions though. Not great against a 2-base tank push, I will say that. Although I also said that they weren't great against Proxy Stargate. And look where that got me. So, it got me into casting a TVT late at night. Not a great spot to be, if you're me. And yet I'm still having the time of my life, so who knows. Anyways, tank does kill the scouting SCV, does see that natural base for Freedom, who is now making Vikings and tanks consistently out of his bases. No SCVs on the way. No Marines on the way. Nothing is on the way except tanks and Vikings. And Hellions, but I was talking about KJ. Oh, and a Banshee and Cloak. So he's playing a TVZ build. Is Criminal. At least mostly TVZ, I think. I don't know if this is a TVT build. I think it's a TVZ build. I think if I asked him, where'd you get this build? Fine. ASMR won't continue. Thanks, everyone. You've ruined my dreams. But anyways, we've seen, I'm pretty sure if I ask him, he's going to go, yeah, that's a TVT build. So I'm like, okay, I think I'm just going to, or a TVZ build. So I'm just going to assume it's a TVZ build. This time, the Viking harass, we saw it in an attempt in game number 1, didn't happen. Game number 2, it's happening. The Hellions come in, but there's not a whole lot to see here for them just yet. As one Hellion does make it through, but there's enough Marines to be able to clean it up pretty easily, and 3 SCVs down already for Criminal. Will that Viking make it away? It flies directly over the Marines, and yet it is faster than them. It is hotter than them, and it is better than them, and so it shall make it away. So 4 Hellions, 1 SCV maybe 1 SCV? I think it was 0 SCVs, maybe 1. For 4 Hellions, whereas it's 3 SCVs for nothing for KJ. So a little unfortunate there for Criminal, not going quite his way. And perhaps that is why this is a TVZ build. Still, he's not dead. The Banshees have a lot of potential, but only if KJ doesn't make turrets, which he's already done. Technically, they do still have potential, because turrets, unlike spores, cannot reposition. Checkmate, Atheists. I don't know. Liberator going out, tanks going out, Vikings going out. KJ's going for it. He's going for it harder than a boy asking his crush out to prom or something like that. I don't think they actually do that very hard. I think they usually do it very timidly and without much effort. But anyways, Banshee is spotted. There's a Viking here, though. And Liberator on top of those 2 tanks will force the unsiege, or we'll just kill them. Okay, it does force the unsiege. We'll kill a tank and damage the other, which means these 3 tanks are going to get right on top. And whenever you're making Banshees, you're not making Vikings, so they say. They is me. I say that. You're not making Vikings when you're making Banshees this early on in the game, which means your air superiority ain't happening. At the same time, though, Liberator does get turreted. Bet you didn't think of that one. Liberator does have to move back a bit. SCV's here to repair, though. Love it, KJ. Attention to detail. Very nice. Raven as, what's his name? CTG? CTG would say. Ravens. But now 3 tanks in the Nat, and there's 1 tank behind the Nat. But the Nat is not long for this world, and I think we might actually see a Swift 3-0. Granted, Criminals come back from worse positions. Today, even. But this is a very bad spot. And that tank will barely make it out with very little HP. And a story that he'll tell his grandkids for a long time. Probably not a long time because he's about to die. So a questionable period of time. An amount of time, he will tell them. Granted, SCV pull actually kind of good here because there's like no units on the ground for KJ, but I don't think you can afford these losses here necessarily. And has not cleaned up the tank even. More SCV boys pull on the way. Raven going to drop an auto turret, but the Vikings now landing as well because they're like, there's not much to do up here. Oh, it doesn't even manage to kill either of those tanks. That's so heartbreaking, and that tank will go down. I think we will indeed see a GG. GG is called, ladies and gentlemen. A good attempt out of Criminal, though. Looking very close against a Code S opponent, nonetheless. But Freedom standing strong, does manage to close it out. Let's talk to Criminal a little bit here. We were talking about maybe another reverse sweep, but not quite happening there. KJ looking pretty tough. It felt like you really kind of, I think, managed to confuse him pretty thoroughly in game 1 with the Mass Viking. I think that caught him pretty off guard, but it felt like at a certain point the Vikings didn't get
I overmade.
done.
Yeah, I overmade the Vikings. I was maxed out the whole game. I mean, the whole maybe 5 minutes on that, and I can't make anything against Thors. I needed to get rid of it. But yeah, I just needed to play some more. But overall, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, not too bad. And obviously, game 2, I don't think you can really chalk that up to much except bad luck. CC first against Proxy Reaper is suboptimal, I think you could say, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't. I was not expecting that from KJ. I thought he was gonna just go tanks, play tanks, but he had Mass Reaper, so I was behind the whole game.
Yeah, so a good build out of KJ there, but also a little fortunate there for him. And then game 3, I think partially just the Hellions not quite able to get enough damage done. Those tank
He was
shots on him
ready.
were pretty powerful.
He was ready with those. The Hellions were blocked. Like it was, yeah. When I saw that, I said, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Nothing at home.
Right.
Better type GG now.
Yeah. Well, and then the tank push does manage to close it out. A good attempt at holding there, but obviously that Liberator just did so much to push your tanks back. It makes it pretty tough.
Yeah, it was so far behind when I saw the tanks, and then he was ready. It's all good.
Yeah.
We learn from it.
Absolutely. And what I'd say is I think that really shows that I think you'll probably wind up in the Code S next season, and you're looking to be a pretty strong competitor there. So I look forward to seeing you there. But we'll go ahead and talk to KJ a little bit here, as did manage to clean up the series 3-0. Not letting the reverse sweep happen to him. I imagine feeling pretty good about that match. I think game 1 probably had you a little worried. It felt like initially, you see that amount of Vikings in the BCs, it felt a little bit like scrambling to try and get the response together. Were you just not quite sure what to go there, or how did that go for you?
Yeah, he definitely scared me with all those Vikings, and I saw Battle Cruiser. So I said, okay, I might lose here. But I figured he'd have to micro pretty well against turrets and Thors, so I just had to keep my cool and just keep taking the lead. Because I figured he made, bad against siege tanks, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah, and I mean, he was able to keep you off of economy for quite a long time, but eventually he did manage to stabilize. Did it just not, I guess, I think whenever you initially see that amount of Vikings, you're like, oh, I need splash mode on the Thors. But then when we were fighting the BCs, it took quite a while until single target came in. Was it just because you were kind of stuck on the verse Viking thing mindset, or what kind of happened there?
Yeah, it's just not being good enough to switch the modes. I was too busy, and I was like, oh yeah, I should probably switch this. That's all it was.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Yeah. And then game two, I mean, I think, who knows? You probably would have gotten some pretty good damage done with the build anyways, but obviously a CC first feels pretty good there.
Bring a
When you
million.
saw the CC there, did you realize that that was a CC first, or?
I didn't realize that because I don't know the timings as well, right? With that Reaper, I just did that, just figuring the exact opposite of game. Do it exactly.
Right, right, yeah.
Pressure
It's
and
the
go.
sort of thing that if you're doing your normal build, you maybe go, "That's really fast CC." But whenever you're doing a proxy and you're not super used to it, you're like, "I don't know when that base is supposed to be going down." To be honest with you, it could have
Yeah,
been it could have been 2 minutes late for all I know, right? So,
exactly.
but yeah, it was obviously in hindsight, I guess now you know it was a CC first. They're pretty good there. And then that game number 3, I think we kind of talked about with Criminal. Obviously, being able to clean up the Hellions and then get some counter damage done with the Vikings set you up really good for that tank push and. Good micro on the Liberator and everything like that. I think everything pretty much just went pretty smoothly for you there, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I saw his Hellions with my Vikings when I was headed to go do some damage, and I was like, oh, I don't even know how he snuck in the back of. I don't know if he dropped, it, but just kind of siege and just focused on the Vikings getting as much gas kills as possible, so that way we would do my tech unit.
Yeah, and I think also a little unfortunate. Obviously, Banshee's not the most helpful against that push with all the Vikings and stuff, and not having that
Yep.
air superiority to push back the Liberator. So very well played, though. I know we were all. It was it was a big question mark. It's like Criminals improved a lot, so how much though? And I think he did look very strong, but well done overall. Obviously, you're now looking to play against instability a little bit. How are you feeling going into that match?
Well, I've been getting my butt whooped by Protoss lately on ladder. I mean, actually in the last couple of months, so I think I need to actually get some builds rather than just winging it. Oh, right. I feel like my control is pretty good. My macro is pretty good. It's just that I don't really know the builds toss, right? So I need to do some, be ready for someone who's a solid player.
Right, yeah. And well, if it's any comfort, I can tell you that instability heavily lacerated one of her fingers the other day, so she's not been able to practice as much as well. But
Well, I'd rather have her
we'll
full
see
strength.
how that
Yeah,
goes.
I want her full strength so that way it's a good whooping that she whoops me, or it's a good match. I don't think there's a case there where I'll win like a 3-0 or a 3-1, or actually at best of, yeah, this is best of 5. So I just
Right,
think if I'm gonna beat her, it'll be a 3-2 type of situation, right? Rather
right.
than
Like
like dominant. So if I pull it off, so it'll be tough.
yeah. Well, I guess we'll all hope to see a bit of a slugfest there in the semifinals. And I guess Seth, did you have any questions for our players to close things out?
No, it was a good set of games. We thought it was gonna go longer, but ended up with a 3-0. We do have our final four. Actually, let's put it on the screen here. So if you guys see, like what they were talking about, instability versus freedom, and then Dark Menace against Neutrophil, and from there we'll have our finals as ET was mentioning earlier on Friday, and our third place match as well. But actually, we're gonna start up with a third place match and then the finals. The reason we're having a third place match here as opposed to the others is because there is a price difference between the third place player and the fourth place um, result. So we're gonna have that game right before the final championship, which is going to be a best of 7. So, and actually, let's also thank our Patreon sponsors. We've got the VIP Patreon Cyan, Hyper Turtle, and Stu Blue. And then our all access Patreons, Rogue Ranch, Thomas, Steinmetz. So thank you very much for your contributions. Allows us to give a bigger prize pool for our hardworking players, which I look forward to seeing how it all concludes next week. So, anything else, guys? KJ?
Uh, no, not really. It's hard to
Yeah,
think after it's a
yeah. It's been a long
TVT.
game. Good job, Criminal, for taking.
Congratulations to Carl. and we'll have some more games in the future.
Yeah, we'll have
Yeah,
more games. But
he didn't
congratulations,
he didn't
Criminal, for
study me,
winning.
so
Yeah.
Huh?
he
What's that?
didn't
I didn't
study
hear.
my build, so he has no idea what I'm gonna do. So I was like, he doesn't know what I do. Okay, I'll do different. Yes.
Well, you're always good at micromanagement and macro, so I didn't know what to do anyway. But let's see more games to practice, and let's try it
Yeah, next
again.
season.
Yep.
Yeah, next. All
So
right, man.
thanks again to our sponsors. Thanks you to our players. Thanks ET. I know it kind of running out of gas there in the very end, but thanks for your phenomenal casting as always. And
Yeah, thank you, ET. Thank you so much for
yeah,
casting the games.
and thank you to
Yeah,
our
always glad to. Looking forward to those semis and finals.
yep,
Almost there, guys.
almost
Season
there.
5 is gonna conclude soon. That's pretty cool.
And then thanks to our viewers as always, and we'll see you guys next week for the final 2 nights of FSL 5, and we'll wrap it up then. Good games.
GG's, guys.
See you then.
GG's. Bye bye.
Jeez.
Gee.
Really like where half of their buildings have like one skin and then the other half have a different
All right,
skin.
guys. Thanks.